tomorrow. We have the potential for isolated tornadoes starting tonight and into the first part of the day tomorrow. We're looking at the potential for 1 to 3 inches of rain, which could cause some minor flooding.
Weather update brought to you by Newcomb & Company, where your comfort is their business. Visit newcombandcompany.com. 3 o'clock check of your money. Dow Jones is up 270 points today to 42,184. Market update brought to you by Tim Donnelly here on 99.9 The Fan.
You're welcome.
Twist on the slant, wide open receiver. It's Johnson. He's got midfield, slips a tackle, middle of the field, 40, 35 of Vegas, running toward the left sideline, out of bounds at the Las Vegas 31. Deontay Johnson, screen pass, right side. Chuba gets a block, has the 5, and tracks into the end zone for a Carolina touchdown. The snap to give to Sanders, reaching for the goal line, and he is in for a Carolina touchdown.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. It's a Thursday. I'm Tim Donnelly. Dennis Cox producing the show as always. It's the start of a football week. Thursday Night Football tonight. And it's also, you start to clarify, kind of focus in on, zoom in on what this week's going to be about, what this weekend is going to be about for the teams that we cover. What is the story for this week for the Panthers? What is the story? Because last week, I mean, do you remember where we were on Thursday of last week?
Not a great place.
It was drama-filled. It was Bryce Young. We were probably talking trades at this point in time.
Yeah.
Because they had just benched him. It was, can Andy Dalton get them to blah, blah, blah. And now look at where we are. Look how far we've come. Are the Panthers a team that just thrive in drama? Are the Panthers that couple we know that fights and fights and fights but never breaks up because they both kind of like it? They like the spice. They like the argument. They like being the center of attention. They like breaking up and making up.
I say they like making up.
Do the Panthers need to find a way to make, like, they can't all just be kumbaya and happy this week, right? Or maybe they can be. Maybe they'll find some spice with a revenge game. Andy Dalton, revenge game, playing his old team, the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know about you, but when I think of Andy Dalton, my brain still goes to those early Bengals teams. Like, if you don't even have to do this in the NFL, but if he entered into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame and had to choose what hat to wear, he's choosing a Bengals hat.
Oh, yeah.
So, what does it mean that they're playing the Bengals in his second game, trying to build off of the theatrics, the fireworks, the lovely performance he put on the field on Sunday? Well, let's hear from him. Andy Dalton asked by the media what it's like facing his former team.
No, it's obviously fun. A ton of memories for me in Cincinnati, and there's still some coaches that are there that that were there when I was there. So it's just going to be nice to kind of get to catch up with them and get to see them. So, I mean, when you see Cincy on the schedule, it's like I've had it every year except last year. So it's always fun to get the opportunity to go against them.
It's fun. Listen, revenge games matter. It's not the most important thing, but it is something that you think of before and after the game. I'm not saying you're dropping back, like in the pocket, making split-second decisions on, I really want to look good here because they let me walk 7 years ago. But they do matter. The team is aware, right? If you're a wide receiver in a revenge game, I think the coaches know, hey, if we can, let's try to get him in the end zone. You don't really change too much, but it's on your brain. Even if there's no reason for revenge. I thought, right, one of the questions, you just heard it right there. Like, Andy Dalton keeps getting asked about playing the Bengals. There's a billion think pieces about Andy Dalton playing against the Bengals. It's his 5th time playing against the Bengals since leaving the Bengals. But there's also, like, I went and looked it up. It seems like they kind of handled everything professionally on both sides. Like the Bengals started Andy Dalton for 9 years. They had him very, very low contract as a rookie, but then for the 5 years following his rookie contract, basically paid him $55 million, helped him play the best years of his career. They gave him a good supporting cast. They didn't bench him. They moved on during the offseason, which is kind of the professional way to go about it. He gave them everything he had. He was a good professional face of the franchise. And then they separated and went their own way. Is that enough of a rallying cry? The one-game bump is real. Okay, and I've explained it probably too many times at this point, but I'll do it one more time. The one-game bump when either a new quarterback takes over or an interim head coach takes over, especially if they're like a beloved member of the team in their assistant coach or backup quarterback role, they take over. Everybody gets really jacked up to make sure they have a good experience. They rally around him. For that next game, a lot of times you see everybody play really, really well. And then sometimes you come back down to earth the next week. Is rallying around winning one for Andy against his old team enough to keep that rally rolling? Is that enough drama for a team that seemed to thrive in it? I always lean on, and we're 6 minutes in and we're going to one of the weirder movie references I lean on.
Okay.
You've heard of Major League, right?
Of course.
Of course you've heard of Major League 2, right?
Yeah.
Have you heard of Major League 3?
I have, actually.
I had it on VHS growing up. It was one of like the rainy day in the summer, throw on a VHS. We had Major League 3, Back to the Minors. And it's got one of the funniest movie pregame speeches of all time, where the coach is saying, like, normal coaches would stand up here and say, you got to play hard for each other, or for the kids out there that are looking up to you. This is an opportunity for you to live out your dreams playing professional baseball. But I'm not saying that before this game. I'm just asking you to win one for me. There was a rivalry between the two managers. The one guy hated the other guy, and he was going, I just want you to go out there and win one for your manager because I need this one. And it actually worked. Again, it's a movie. It always works. But Andy Dalton could do a little bit of that if he wanted to. Hey, listen, guys. Last week was great. Came in, really changed up our season. This week, I want to win one for me. I want to win one to beat the Cincinnati Bengals because I think I should still be there, getting ready to end my career and put my name up in the Ring of Honor and cruise into the retirement life as the color commentator for the Bengals, where I'm gonna live in Cincinnati the rest of my life, but they didn't want me. So I had to go to Dallas, and then I had to go to New Orleans, and I ended up here where you guys can back me up. Maybe. The hard part about it is I think the Bengals are going to be just as motivated, and it has nothing to do with Andy Dalton.
Zero.
It is as much of a must-win in Week 4 it could possibly be. I saw an analyst on Twitter floating this idea. Could a Jamar Chase or T. Higgins trade happen if they find themselves down 0-4 before the trade deadline? Now, do I think that's likely? Not with Jamar Chase. Maybe T. Higgins. But that's players don't read that stuff. They hear about it. Trust me, if their name's in trade rumors, they hear about it. That's what they're up against. We lose this game, they're talking about trading our best players. We lose this game, it goes from highly unlikely we make the playoffs historically to darn near impossible we make the playoffs historically. And all that's between us and 1-3, the Carolina Panthers. Who wins the fight? A lot of times it's the person that wants to be in the fight most. You can't be in a fight and be half-stepping. The Bengals are going to be full-stepping. Can the Panthers show up with that kind of fight for the second straight week? Andy Dalton was asked how dangerous the Bengals are. This is his answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great team. I mean, their record doesn't show exactly who they are. Everybody knows what type of players they have over there and the success that they've had. So, I mean, you can't take them lightly. They, even their game on Monday, I mean, they're still scoring a lot of points, putting themselves, close in that game. It could have gone either direction, and that's been kind of the story of every game they've played so far.
They are dangerous. They are talented, even if their record doesn't show it. They are also a historically slow starting team. The first month of the season has never been favorable for this version of the Bengals. They're kind of the anti-Dolphins, right? The Dolphins always start hot. By midseason, like Tua is an MVP candidate, and you know their power rankings number 1 or 2 in the league. By the end of the year, they've tumbled down. Bengals flip it. So don't be the team that flips it. If you're the Carolina Panthers, don't fall for it. They're playing possum. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, can you separate the quarterback from an embarrassing loss? If somebody made their first career start and you lost 70-50 to a group of 5 team, could you separate those two? Jacoby Criswell of UNC hopes he can. Next.
Football is on the menu tonight.
Showtime, prime time.
And we're delivering some fresh NFC action.
Here we go. Woo!
It's Dallas and the New York Giants.
Y'all know what time it is, huh?
Pre-game starts at 7:30.
Hey, together, baby. We just do this one play at a time.
The NFL on 99.9 The Fan is brought to you by Wake Med.
We came here for one thing, to win.
99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports leader.
This is Gordon Miller from Miller Lending in Cary. Now that the Fed has finally begun their path of rate cuts, trying to decide when to finance becomes very challenging. Do I lock now? Do I wait? At Miller Lending, we offer a solution to the question of timing with our popular no closing costs program. With no fees charged or added to your loan amount, you simply close on today's rates free of charge and refinance any time rates fall. Having done our first no-cost loan all the way back in 1987, we've now funded over $10 billion in no-cost mortgages, saving our customers thousands of dollars in needless fees. Lately, we've seen a trend of even higher closing costs as borrowers chase rates only to see them drop considerably 4 months later. So whether you're purchasing a new home or simply refinancing the home you're in, why not call Miller Lending and say goodbye to closing costs forever? 919-447-3377 or simply apply online at millerlending.com. Miller Lending is an equal housing lender and MLS number 250-2146.
Our state's future begins with our students. That's why the North Carolina Education Lottery has contributed over $10 billion to education. Through scholarships, school construction, support staff, and pre-K programs, lottery dollars move our state forward, helping students become the best versions of themselves. Visit movingncstudentsforward.com and share how your student or school community has benefited for a chance to earn $2,000 for your story. Must be 18 to play. Problem Gambling Helpline 877-718-5543.
Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars Rewards. Win or lose, every bet you place brings you closer to perks only Caesars can offer. Hotel stays, bonus bets, game tickets, and more. Download the app using the promo code Radio1000 and you'll place your first bet today. If you win, great. If not, you'll get it back as a bonus bet up to $1,000. Must be 21 plus and physically present in North Carolina. New users only must register using eligible promo code. First bet after registration must qualify. Max bonus bet $1,000. Bonus bet expires 14 days after receipt. Void where prohibited. See Caesars.com/promos for full items. Tribal Casino Gaming Enterprise is the licensed operator by the North Carolina State Lottery Commission. Know when to stop before you start. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
The clock is ticking. Diamonds Direct's ultimate offer is almost over. Until September 30th, you can get 5 years of 0% financing on any purchase. It's the perfect chance for worry-free shopping with no interest and monthly payments customized for you. And now open Sunday, September 29th. Take advantage of this amazing opportunity. From luxury timepieces to engagement rings and more. Don't wait. Spread your payments over 5 years with zero interest on approved credit. Only until September 30th. For details and more, visit DiamondsDirect.com.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through HIMS, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Dennis Cox playing the Katy Perry coming out of break.
You know it.
I was trying to find a Katy Perry segue there. I just don't know him well enough. Let's talk UNC football. How does it feel as a quarterback when your first start, right? You by the way, took a journey to end up the starting quarterback at UNC. You go to UNC, you fall behind a third overall pick in the draft, you transfer, you go through a journey at another school in the SEC, you transfer back to UNC, where at the start of the year you're third string. By the fourth game, you're making your first start. You step in, you're excited, I am sure, and you have one of the most embarrassing losses in program history. Especially when you can pretty easily, even though you don't want to do it, the logic is right there for you to go, it really wasn't my fault. Yes, the coincidence of my first start being a embarrassing loss to a group of 5 team that's only been in FBS school for a couple of minutes, that we paid $500,000 to come play in our house. The optics of it don't look great, but it's not my fault. And if you can't tell by now, I am describing the plight of Jacoby Criswell.
Like, hey, I did my part.
He threw for 475 yards.
It's like, okay, there's the pick six, okay, but otherwise I did my part.
That's not an exaggeration.
That's true.
You know, that's not me going like he threw for 911 billion yards. He threw for 475 yards, actually. 3 touchdowns. That's the good. He did complete a little bit below 60% of his passes, but he attempted 48 of them. He did throw the 2 interceptions and the pick 6 you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Did take the 3 sacks, but he was playing in a ferocious catch-up for at least the entire second half, most of the second quarter as well. If you take in all of the context, I think he played well. I mean, if you really want to nitpick, I think he played solid. I think he played middle of the road. Can you separate that? Like, if you are Criswell, if you are a fan, can you look at it and completely judge them independently? They call football the ultimate team sport. I believe it is. So can you look at an individual and say you had a good game while also acknowledging the game that it took place within is one that you makes you want to rip your eyeballs out? Can Criswell walk around the facility this week all pumped up, chest out, establishing himself as the quarterback of the North Carolina Tar Heels after they've had a revolving door at that position for the first 4 weeks? Or is that impossible for anybody to walk around chest puffed up, all established after a 70-50 embarrassing loss? This is, it's the call to the parents. You know what that means? After a game where your team lost, especially to a team they shouldn't, you got to be sour-faced. You got to be mad. You got to be angry. You got to talk about, I didn't do enough. I need to lead better. It starts with me. But there is that moment when, like, you're in a car. Maybe you're driving home. You close the doors. Nobody can hear you. You call your parents and you go, that was actually a pretty fun game. I slung it. Did you see that? The third down completion? It was pretty good. Right? It's an inner circle. It's like the circle of trust from Meet the Parents. It's an inner circle that you can trust with those comments. You want to be mad. You have to be mad publicly, but you also are proud. I have one example that makes me think of this. When I played in college, we played at New Hampshire, and I had gotten benched, I don't know, a game or two before. Not the best part of my career. but the starter got hurt when we were down 14, I think, and I went in the game, threw for one of my career highs in yards, and we lost by less than the total. Like, once I got in, we won the game from that point forward. Does that make sense? Like,
Are you going to go Jeff Bizdelic with this? All right.
When I took over, we were down 14. We ended up losing by 7. I walk away like, hey, you start me, look what happens. But I could never say that out loud. Right? Oh, you're darn right. I told it like when I'm on the phone with my mom or dad, or if I'm somebody with my inner circle of trust. But, when you're around the facility, you do kind of have to. And by the way, the team that that version of New Hampshire had no business being in a game with us. Honestly, even after I took over, we didn't beat them by enough. That was a team that we were simply better than. And that was a rough week of practice, and coach is going to make you, your mistakes are going to be amplified, and practice has to be extra sharp, and you might do a little extra running. It's very hard to differentiate. It's very hard to separate the individual that did some good things or did a lot of good things or established themselves as something from the game, which is so much of a brain pretzel inducing mess that people weren't even sure if the coach resigned after the game. There might have been a moment where Criswell was like, I wonder who the interim is going to be. I hope I impressed that guy. Now, obviously, Mac Brown cleared it all up. He's sticking around, has no plans to leave, all of that. But when that much chaos is going on, sometimes it is difficult to focus in on the quarterback and go, no, actually, it was nice to have somebody out there that was executing the offense in a decent way. Nesbitt and Copenhaver, the two tight ends that make up maybe the best tight end room in the country, both scored a touchdown. Like, Omarion Hampton scored 3 of them. Jacoby Criswell executed an offense that, if you look at Chip Lindsey's history, their offensive coordinator, he is somebody that's about getting the ball to your playmakers, right? He's not running, Dennis, you'll appreciate this, he's not running the old, what was it, Todd Haley Pittsburgh offenses, where it was like, Big Ben, I need you to stay alive for 5 seconds and throw it as far as you can.
Just chuck it deep.
Just Mike Wallace, Antonio Brown, somebody's down there somewhere. It's not that. It's about getting the ball to your best playmakers. Criswell did that. Now, his defense was giving up some points. Special teams were giving up some points. He participated with the pick 6. But you could argue he's the only one that had an excuse. It was his first real playing time for UNC. If at the end of that game they had won, say 50-30, and Criswell threw a pick 6, the pick 6 would be completely written off as, oh, well, it's his first game. He's knocking off the rust. Game action's different than practice. Do you not give him that same leeway because he lost 70-50? It's very kind of baseball in that offense and defense are separated in football, unless you're Travis Hunter. It's separate. So you should be able to judge the two individually, but it's not always that easy. It's why, pitchers still get judged on wins and losses, even though we know for a fact ERA is a much better judge of how good a pitcher is throwing. But we still look at wins and losses because we can't help but let the overall outcome impact how we think about a player, even if we know the loss isn't on them. It's the pitcher was for the Mets, now he's for the Rangers, had the Tommy John, not Scherzer, the other, DeGrom.
Mm-hmm.
DeGrom was going, when he was with the Mets, he was going 7 innings, 1-run ball, losing the game every single time.
Yeah.
And it took like 2 or 3 years of that for people to recognize what he was doing. Criswell, I'm not saying he had a 1-run game, but let's say he gave up like 4.
And a quality start.
and then he lost 14-4, and it's going like, hey, you're never really in that one, were you, Criswell?
No.
He's going, I gave up 2 in the second, 2 in the sixth. Like, what do you want me to do? I think I can separate it. I think he established, he gets a leash now a little bit on that starting job. He played well enough to earn that. Better than any other quarterback we've seen as far as production for UNC this year. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Coming up next, joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline is Margaret Fleming of Front Office Sports. She's been covering and writing articles about the NIL drama happening in college football, including UNLV and Matthew Sluka. And I don't know where the truth is on that one. We'll try to get to the bottom of it with Margaret Fleming coming up next.
Hi, I'm Marcy Bailey. And at Bailey's Fine Jewelry, we understand your concerns when it comes to buying an engagement ring. Am I paying too much? Am I getting a quality diamond? Will she love the ring? Rest assured, we prioritize your happiness as much as the exquisite diamonds we offer. That's why we provide unparalleled guarantees to give you peace of mind. First of all, we offer an incredible 30-day money-back guarantee. Secondly, with our unique 100-day price protection, we promise you'll get the best price, quality, and value. But if you find a better offer, we'll match it and give you 10% of the difference. But we don't stop there. We also offer an unprecedented lifetime diamond guarantee. It's our way of giving you confidence throughout all of your cherished moments. We've been locally owned since 1948 and voted the best jeweler year after year. At Bailey's, we're not just selling jewelry. We're providing a legacy of trust. We invite you to shop with us and experience the difference.
Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beat-your-price. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beat-your-price.
A happy place comes in many colors. One that leaves you feeling refreshed. Something that gets you all fired up. Or gives you the space to chill. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters. That's painting happy. Get started today at CertaPro.com. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
Connection, opportunity, possibility. It's what we all want. Spectrum has built a world where anything is possible, with products and services designed to work better together for a seamless connectivity experience. A connection to family and friends, a connection to education, and a connection to new opportunities. So there's no limit to how big we can dream. That's Life Unlimited. That's Spectrum.
Homeowners, listen up. The Fed has taken action, lowering rates for the first time in years, and Loan Pronto has followed suit by lowering mortgage rates big time. Hey, it's Dennis Cox for Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto just locked in a homeowner at 4.59% APR, the lowest in 2 years. Whether you got your loan last month or last year, it's time to call Loan Pronto and dump that high-rate loan. You can lock in a lower rate with virtually no paperwork and usually no appraisal. There's no limit on how many times you can refi, so get started. Even if you're in process with another lender, give Loan Pronto a call. If you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Purchase loans available as well, so call now. Get your rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Call 919-381-1760 or loanpronto.com. 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
We want to invite you to Atlantic Spas and Billiards to bring more relaxation, wellness, and fun to your home. Sit in a hot tub from Hot Spring or Caldera, relax in a hot sauna from Finleo, or swim in our showroom in our endless pool. We have a fully stocked game room showroom with darts, ping pong, foosball, air hockey, pool tables, and more. Everything we sell for your home, from hot tubs to grills, from saunas to pool tables, promotes relaxation, wellness, and fun. Atlantic Spas and Billiards on Glenwood Avenue in Raleigh and Market Street in Wilmington, AtlanticSBNZ.com.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. It is now time to hopefully get closer to the bottom of the NIL confusion out there in UNLV involving their quarterback, Matthew Sluka, who, after leading his team to an undefeated start and really building up UNLV's momentum, decided he's going to stop playing to preserve his eligibility and his money-making power at the college level. And since then, there's been a ton of he said back and forth between the school, the player, the dad, the agent on the reasoning behind that decision. So now we welcome in on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, Margaret Fleming from Front Office Sports, one of the reporters kind of leading the charge in covering this situation. Margaret, first of all, thank you very much for taking the time. I guess we'll start with this. Like, will we ever get the truth, or are we always going to have these like three sides to the story for what happened with the quarterback of UNLV?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question. I don't know if we'll ever really get the truth, but yeah, a lot of sides saying different things. But it's an interesting case what's going on over here. They're kind of saying on his side that, it was a verbal agreement. We thought it was going to be $100,000. It's been $3,000, and now that was pulled out. From the other side, UNLV and the collective are saying, we never agreed to anything crazy like that, and are saying that they're kind of lifting threats toward the university, and yeah, it's kind of crazy what's going on. And then you see his teammate coming out and saying he's going to redshirt as well. He clarified that was not because of NIL, but definitely interesting timing. So it's a curious case what's going on out there in Las Vegas.
What are the next possible steps? Like, could he sue for the money? Is the team going to enact the courts because they want? I assume in the world of NIL recruiting, you very much don't want to be the team known for not making good on your promises for $100,000. Like, where does this go from here?
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be the team that's known for that. I don't think that the school could really necessarily sue. I don't think that he could necessarily really sue because, again, this was a verbal agreement that they're saying was made by an assistant coach who is not a representative for a collective, and they didn't put pen to paper because that would be recruiting, violations of some kind. So, yeah, so it's a really weird collective world, but yeah, it doesn't seem like really that they could sue him because he's allowed to redshirt just like any other students allowed to redshirt for whatever reason they decide to. And on the flip side, it's not like he, again, put pen to paper that he could say, you all said that you owed me this necessarily. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think we'll see legal action out of this, but it definitely sets a weird precedent and brings up a lot of conversations about like NIL agents and what those mean and look like, who's protecting these students, who's making these deals for these students. Yeah, it's really interesting.
That was going to be my next question. We're talking with Margaret Fleming of Front Office Sports. There is an agent involved, and there's agents that have been quoted in some of these stories. And like, where was the agent when this agreement took place? Like, it seems like if a player is going, I'm not getting my money, their first call is to the agent, and the agent goes and gets their money. Like, does this agent just not doing their job?
I've definitely seen some discourse about that, about like, is the agent really the one at fault here? Yeah, it's interesting to think that I've seen some things about how the agent like wasn't licensed in Nevada. I've seen things about how the agent, should they have come to the school sooner about this, because this agreement allegedly happened in February, but he didn't bring it up until recently. Should that have happened before? There's also just like, what even is an NIL agent? And that's a job for a lot of people in college sports now, but there aren't really regulations as to like how you get qualified for that, like nationwide. There isn't really like a set of rules or, a course that you go through. Like an agent in professional sports has a lot more going on there than it does in college. And so a lot of these students don't really exactly know what they're signing up for sometimes when they get an agent. So yeah, I don't want to say too many mean things about this person that I don't know, but yeah, it's definitely a curious case here about like, why did the agent not provide more protection, you would think, for the student earlier on?
It's also just kind of ironically or by happenstance, all of this is going on at the same time UNLV is entertaining or was entertaining the Pac-12 as a potential move. Recently, and again, you can correct me if I get any of these details wrong, they recommitted to the Mountain West because of a large financial commitment from the conference to the team. Has Has anybody pointed out the ridiculous irony that UNLV basically went to their larger institution and said, we're leaving unless you give us more money, while admonishing the player for, in their allegations on their side of things, doing exactly that and saying, I'm leaving unless you give me more money?
It's all really interesting, the timing of all of this. All of it is just crazy that it's happening at the same time for UNLV. I think when you think about college quarterbacks in a power conference, and again, that's the whole reason that the Pac-12 is trying to poach Mountain West schools, is because it's trying to get back to power conference, status again. If you're a quarterback in one of those schools, you're likely, going to make from your NIL collective right now anywhere from like $500,000 to a couple $1 million. Is sort of the reported numbers. And so if he was asking for $100,000, that would still be below power conference levels. And then then UNLV was still not really biting on that. And so they're definitely not really acting. And if you just look at this one example, the school's not really, or the collective particularly, is not really acting like a Power 5 school or collective. So I guess I understand from the financial side that they want to stay a little bit smaller if this is how they're acting with their quarterback.
I just want to press on that a little bit more. 500,000 to a couple million. Is that the market? One of the things I found very, very difficult is to get anybody to say a number. A lot of coaches will say, recruits are now they're worried about NIL. They're just going to the highest bidder, or, we wanted this guy, but the money that so-and-so offered him is 4 times what we could. And I'm going, I can't get that number honed in. Is 500,000 to a couple million, is that a number that we can kind of lock in on?
That's a number that's been out there from like a couple different sources or outlets or whatnot. And I think that that's sort of for more power conference quarterbacks, but it varies by position and also varies by sport. I mean, if you think about like men's basketball, like a Power 5, I guess it's Power 4 now, point guard is maybe somewhere around like 300,000, something like that, which is a lot less than, $2 million. So it kind of depends. I mean, we saw a softball player at Texas Tech just got $1 million. So there's kind of numbers that are out there roughly. But yeah, that's the whole point about this industry, is that it's so under the radar that people really don't know what the numbers are. And it's very covered up.
Margaret Fleming, Front Office Sports, is the voice you are hearing. You can follow her on Twitter at MGFleming12. Is this just the new normal for college football? We've heard for decades and decades college coaches lie during recruiting. Normally it's you're going to start, or like we're going to have a role for you on offense. One of my favorite is we're going to let you play quarterback, and then by the second week of training camp, they're lined up as a safety or a tight end or something else. But we've never seen those lies turn into, I'm not going to play for you. If it now looks like if you lie about how much money they're going to get, the players are willing to stand on that and kind of protect their eligibility. Is this something we should get used to?
I think it's a really good question. I think that players definitely right now in the market are being told, from either the collectives or from the coaches or whatnot, numbers at every school. And I think that if schools don't deliver on that, I think this definitely could be a trend. I think that what happened at UNLV, maybe it's a kind of peculiar case because the coach and the collective weren't really aligned on what they were thinking or offering. But yeah, if schools continue to do that, I think it's totally within the athlete's right to say, this school said that they could pay me this much, and this school said that they could pay me this much. I came here because for so many reasons, but this was part of it. And, if you fall through on that, I think it's within the right of the student to say that they don't want to be at that school and want to go somewhere else. But I think we'll kind of have to wait and see if UNLV was sort of a weird case where they weren't really aligned with each other, or if that's going to be more of a norm.
Do you have any idea how difficult or how easy it is for a player to kind of figure out what another team would be willing to spend? Because, here in the Triangle here, North Carolina State, at last year, their quarterback made a similar decision and wanted to preserve his eligibility and decided to transfer that offseason. That's a much easier decision to make if the next school has a bag, as they say, waiting for you. Is that easy to find out if you're a quarterback or if you are a premier position player and you want to make sure next year your bag is secured?
I would imagine, I am not a college football star, but I would imagine for those that are, it's something that comes up in your conversations. I mean, NIL used to be something that wasn't allowed to be talked about during recruiting, and then all rules around NIL went out the window with the Tennessee injunction earlier this year, and so that's allowed to be discussed just openly. So I guess through talking to different schools, you can know that. I know for the case at NC State, it was interesting because I don't think he was necessarily going for NIL dollars. I think he had kind of wanted to stay there, wanted to stay there, and then had kind of thought he was going to preserve his red shirt the entire season. But this kind of idea of like redshirting to maintain your eligibility, it's been around for a long time, but I think there's a lot more reasons to have a player pursue that now, between transferring somewhere else and immediately getting to make an impact the next season on the field, to going somewhere else that could give you more money. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why players could decide to redshirt. But then again, if you're redshirting, that means you're only playing a handful of games, so you're not really showing other schools what you're worth, or even showing your own school what you're worth. So there's pros and cons to it, but I definitely think there are a lot more reasons that players are doing it now than they used to before.
Last one before we let you go. You may not be a college football star, but I'm gonna, for the point of this question, make you like the czar, the president of college football. If you take over and you're looking at the chaos of this and you're reporting on it and you're hearing the 7 different stories about one event, is there a priority number one or a rule you would enact or change immediately to kind of get all of this under control?
Oh, wow. Another good question. I don't even know. Charlie Baker's got a full plate right now. I think his first priority right now needs to be figuring out House versus NCAA, that big case that's going on. That's having to do with revenue sharing. I think if they can figure out the revenue sharing bit, that will take a lot of pressure off of NIL, because, I mean, we don't know how this is all going to turn out, but like if college athletes start getting a portion of media rights just straight from revenue sharing instead of these kind of unknown NIL salaries, kind of, which is what they've turned into, that is a lot more out in the open. That could be regulated a little bit more than these independent collectives. If it's like a certain amount, just like how schools get a certain amount of distributions for their media rights, if players get that too. Again, that is a whole other mess, because how does that work with Title IX? How does that work with, smaller sports versus, the ones that get more viewership? I don't really know how that all works, but I think that that's probably the number one main thing that they need to figure out right now.
That's Margaret Fleming of Front Office Sports joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. Margaret, thank you for the time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Once again, Margaret Fleming, follow her on Twitter at MGFleming12. She's a breaking news reporter for Front Office Sports. That entire situation gets weirder by the report, because it's usually when somebody is so gung-ho, they're on the actual truth side. And I just keep seeing the player and the player's family dig in more aggressively, and the school and the school's representatives dig in more aggressively, and they are on complete opposite sides of the argument. It's not like one's digging in and saying it's blue and the other one's saying it's teal. It's like one's saying it's blue and the other one's saying it's furry. It's like they're not even in the same sense that they're dealing with. And they're both very, very confident. I was thinking about this when this situation came up, and it applies to the NC State situation last year, with both Jordan Houston and MJ Morris deciding to preserve eligibility and not play more than 4 games, even if the teams wanted, their coach and their teammates wanted them to play more games. The question is simple. Is it all that bad that guys that don't want to play are leaving? We're seeing it more and more. USC had a defensive lineman named Bear Alexander, kind of in the aftermath of this UNLV situation. He's now electing to redshirt for the year. His family's saying he wants to stay with the team, but only wants to use eligibility as a full-time starter, and I guess he wasn't a full-time starter. Michael Allen, former NC State running back, is leaving UNLV because his role isn't what he hoped it would be. Matthew Sluka, MJ Morris last year, Jordan Houston last year. It's becoming more and more and more common. I'm not sure that's not to use a phrase we use all the time, addition by subtraction. If you've ever been in a locker room with somebody that doesn't want to be there, you don't want them there either. If somebody is thinking about themselves or thinking about what they're going to do next year, meanwhile you're trying to lock in on Saturday's game, they're not helping. You see it in the NFL. When guys become a distraction, when guys become too me-oriented, when they become too much of a locker room cancer, they get cut. Their presence is a negative, and by removing them, even if it comes with salary cap ramifications or whatever it is, the NFL in many instances will do that as long as they're not making $30 million a year. And what about this? If you're eliminated from your goals, right? If you had a goal of being bowl eligible and that's not going to happen, or a goal of winning 8, 9, 10 games or competing for a conference championship and that's not going to happen, and you have somebody who knows this offseason I'm gone, don't you want to see the guys that might be around next year? There's a moment, I've been in this moment, where your season's kind of a lost season and the seniors suddenly start, if they played 90% of the snaps by end of the year, they're still playing because they're seniors and you want to honor them, but they might be playing 65% of the snaps to get the young guys in there a little bit more. If somebody is leaving, I want to know. I've seen coaches in college, as soon as you go approach them, right, they might be the coolest coaches in the world, just want what's best for you. Hey, if you're thinking about transferring, come talk to me. I might even help you. If I think the best move for you is elsewhere and, I agree with you that you're only going to be a backup here and I think you can go play somewhere else and you've earned the right, cool, we'll send you. But I've also seen coaches who are like, as soon as you approach me about potentially transferring, even if you're just thinking about it, I don't want you working out with the team. I don't want you practicing with the team. Now, if you want to fully commit and you come back in a week later and say, I've thought about it and I want to stay, we'll put you back in. But anybody who's not 2 feet all in deep end, you're gone. So if you're UNLV, you just learned your quarterback was kind of only there for the cash. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad place for him to be. I'm not saying that at all. If you have an opportunity to make $100,000, you jump at that as a 21, 22, whatever, however old he is, year old. I get that, but with him gone, Hajj Malik, the quarterback from Campbell, who's now going to be their starter, steps up. Maybe that's somebody that's there to fight for your teammates. Maybe he's there for cash too, and maybe four games from now he'll go, wait a second. You promised me if I was a starter, I got X amount of dollars. Where is it? Who knows? We don't know how it's going to break. I'm just saying, like, in players doing what's best for them, they also reveal their priorities. And if they reveal their priorities are something other than the team, let them walk. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Today's a Thursday. We're going to be doing quite a bit of cons and cons. We haven't done a cons and cons yet for the college teams in the area. And we thought now would be a good time because a couple of them are reeling in a whole bunch of different directions. So let's go ahead and hit cons and cons. Confidence. Cons and cons is confidence and concerns. What are you most confident about? What are you most concerned about when it comes to certain teams? We'll start with UNC.
All right.
We're going to work reverse of their podium order, just do the triangle teams. UNC, concern. Here's my concern.
Okay.
Instability.
All right.
The coach has retirement rumors. They've had 3 starting quarterbacks in their first 4 games. They have so much in and out of the lineup, both on offense and defense. There's just instability. Who do you lean on? Who is your pillar? Who is your rock? When your coach may have kind of hinted at retirement, he's supposed to be your rock. When your quarterback's supposed to be your leader, and it started as Max Johnson, then it was Connor Harrell, now it's Jacoby Criswell. It's just some important characters are getting recast each week. And that instability is always going to make me nervous in college. What's your concern, Dennis?
My concern is for them defensively. They give up too many chunk plays in the passing game. Remember, I went to the game covering when Charlotte was at in Chapel Hill a couple weeks ago, and there were pass plays of like 25, 35, 40 yards. And there were several, I think I remember correctly, there were 7 passes of 20 yards or more allowed by the UNC defense. That's just too much. Too much given up in your passing game.
My confidence is simple. Omarion Hampton. his greatness is actually being undervalued this year because there's so much chaos elsewhere around the team. He has 164 more rushing yards than anyone else in the ACC.
Yeah, that's good.
We only played 4 games. He has 164 yards and more yards than anyone else rushing.
And here's the thing against Charlotte, he only played like half a game.
He missed the back half of a stat game. Charlotte that's a pad your stat game for your Doak Walker candidate. Missed the back half of that with an injury. Game flow worked against him at JMU because they got down and had to sling it. And he still produced, still had 3 touchdowns, still had over 100 yards. He's averaging 6.5 yards per rush. The dude's a beast. He's being undervalued. He's flying under the radar this year, but by the end, his stats are going to be just as wow as a season ago.
Confidence for this week, they know who their starting quarterback is.
First time in a while.
First time all season, I feel like. They actually know who their starting quarterback is going into this week, and it's not a question. It's Jacoby Criswell.
Let's get to NC State. NC State concerns. My concern is the defensive effort.
Oh, effort. Okay.
And by the way,
big word to throw out there, by the way.
Check out the Pack Therapy podcast. Myself, Mike Glennon hosted. It's All State Football. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a loaf count on a whiteboard somewhere in NC State's facility, and certain players were called in. The player. This is actually maybe a good way to tell it. Now I'm blanking on his name. Is it Hibbert or Hibbler? The player that just left the NC State program. This is an anecdote that Mike tells on the podcast. He said he was watching the film back, and he saw a particular player, and he had a number on the defensive line, and he's going like, this guy is showing no effort. What the heck is happening here? So, but he didn't recognize off the top, he didn't have the roster memorized. So we went and looked up the roster to go try and find out who this player was, and it was number 4. And the only player that was number 4 on the roster was Dakari Collins, who's a wide receiver. And he's like, well, I know that's not the number 4 I just watched play defensive line. So was this guy not on the roster? Goes to Twitter. That player is no longer with the program. He decided to leave. If that's not as quick and swift of a move, on film it looked like you weren't showing effort. By the time you could check the roster, that player's already not on the team. There's a few arm tackles that I think you could have gotten your body in front of, just a little bit more effort. And obviously, that's something Dave Doran's not going to put up with. I'm sure this week was an aggressive week of practice. Mm-hmm. But I'm a little concerned about that.
My concern is their headspace. I mean, you've played 2 tough games.
4 tough games. You lost 2 of them brutally.
Well, I mean, 2 tough opponents, as in other power conference schools. And you got your tail kicked both times.
Yep.
And in national television, embarrassed. Where's your headspace right now as a team? Where's your confidence level right now?
I agree. I mean, I think that's another good one. My confidence, CJ Bailey.
Oh, okay.
Freshman quarterback, he looked the part. And do you know what's nice to tell him? It's only going to get easier. Clemson was the hardest look he'll get all year, one of the tougher road environments he'll get all year from a talent and pedigree standpoint. That's the best team he's going to face on defense, and he looked the part. So I'm confident in him being able to build off of that as the quarterback.
Confidence for me for NC State, their next 3 games are at home. The comforts of being at home. You don't have to go on the road or a neutral site. You have the comforts of being at home the next 3 games, which I think is going to be good for them. Northern Illinois doesn't look like, we shouldn't, obviously, for NC State, what we've seen so far, discount any opponent, but Northern Illinois, Wake are your next 2 games, and you're at home.
Northern Illinois did beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, but then they lost to whomever it was.
Yeah, but they have it in them.
Exactly.
Duke, we'll round it out with this before we get to the top of the hour. My concern, their switch from the hunter to the hunted.
Yeah.
How many times has someone said over the past 4 days, Duke is the best college football team in the state of North Carolina? And then think about how many times that's been said in recent memory before this week. It's a strange little change, and obviously a rivalry game this week. They're used to being like hey, let's go out there and shock the world, not hey, let's make sure they don't shock the world. So it's a new place for Duke, which new is always scary. Change is always scary.
My concern is their running game for real? Because the first 2 games against Elon and Northwestern was non-existent. Mm-hmm. You played UConn and Middle Tennessee State as your next 2 games. And you found a running game in those 2, but you haven't faced a really true tough opponent yet, in my opinion. Is your running game for real?
And finally, let's go ahead and look at the confidence for Duke. Mine is, again, it's relatively simple. Malik Murphy. He's doing what you hoped he would do when you brought him out of the transfer portal. He's given the offense confidence. He's given them something to lean on, and he's being efficient with the pass.
For me, it's quiet. There's no noise surrounding the team. There's no who's your starting quarterback this week? Did you get embarrassed on national television? All the stuff we're talking about with UNC and NC State? None of that going on over there. It's quiet, and that's a good thing.
That is a good thing. Quiet,
especially when you have a rivalry game at home coming up against North Carolina.
Quiet is underrated. So there's cons and cons for the ACC triangle teams. Before we move on and head to football at 4, Tim Donnelly here for Window Nation. Window Nation is all about value. Values your satisfaction in their quality. The values your satisfaction in their service, their affordability, and also just giving you value. Right now, buy 2 windows, you'll get 2 windows free. That deal is awesome. There's no limit to how much you could save. You could even save more with 0 down and no interest or payments for 24 months. I've talked about this quite a bit, but we're not experts. Sorry, some of us, I fancy myself a little DIYer, right? I can do some rudimentary electric work. I can install a toilet. I fancy myself a DIYer. Sometimes knowing just a little bit is dangerous, and you really notice it, right? Like what do they say? The Chrysler 300 looks like a Rolls Royce till the Rolls Royce pulls up next to it. You may think you know what you're doing until you start talking about windows with Window Nation, and you realize, oh, you're really the expert. You're the real deal here. You know the ins and outs, the materials, the installation. You have a 50-point inspection before it even leaves the factory. You have a 20-point inspection on every window after it's installed. Yeah, when you talk to somebody like Justin, like me and my wife did, about your windows, you learn quickly. I thought I knew what I was talking about until the guy who he knew what was actually happening pulled up. So go ahead and give them a call. They'll hit you with a fast, no-obligation, in-home estimate and consultation with the presentation, the science project, as I call it, heat lamps and everything to show you the effectiveness of your windows. It's all with the pros at Window Nation. Give them a call, 866-90-NATION. That's 866-90-NATION. Or you can give them a checkout online at windownation.com. Once again, windownation.com. Football 4 coming up next. What is Andy Dalton thinking taking over the Panthers? Stick around.
Move your sports day forward.
They played a complete football game in which it paid off for me in spades. I was able to gas up my car today thanks to Andy Dalton's 319-yard performance. I appreciate that. I do. And y'all should appreciate that too. If you're a Carolina Panthers fan, it's okay. It's okay to be happy today. Pound your chest. There are other teams in bad places.
Get set up. Join Next Up with Paul Ihander. Mornings at 9 on 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
Is your heating and air system ready for cooler weather? Call Newcomb & Company today to schedule a routine maintenance and ensure your system is operating at peak performance. Become a Comfort Contract customer to receive priority service and a 15% discount on service calls and repairs for HVAC and plumbing work. Newcomb & Company has served the area as a Carrier Factory authorized dealer for more than 3 generations. Turn to the experts today. Call 919-862-3000 or find us at newcombandcompany.com. Newcomb & Company and Carrier. Your comfort is our business.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the 3rd time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments.
Yeah, welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60-plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
This year, FanDuel is giving you a chance to win big every Thursday night with FanDuel Squares. It's the same Super Bowl Squares game you have always known, probably have never won, but you're going to win now, only this is better. That's because your numbers aren't just randomly assigned. You get to pick them yourself. I always get 8s. You can pick as many as you like. You'll get to see the odds beforehand, and you can bet them live during the game. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/Adam Golden, bet on Squares. Plus, if you're new to FanDuel, you can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you make your first $5 wager. 21 and over and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm, North Carolina's injury lawyers.
Visit GotBryan.com.
That's GotBryan.com. WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. Take us with you on radio, web, app, Alexa, and YouTube. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
I'm WRAL meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. It is a WRAL weather alert day. We'll see increasing chances for rain as we get through the afternoon and evening. We have a level 1 risk for severe storms, possible isolated tornadoes starting late today, tonight, and lingering into the day tomorrow. We'll see a low of 72 tonight and a high of 82 tomorrow. The heaviest rain tomorrow will be the first part of the day. We could see 1 to 3 inches, which could cause some minor flooding.
Weather update brought to you by Newcomb & Company, where your comfort is their business. Visit newcombandcompany.com. 4 o'clock check of your money. Dow Jones is up 260 points to 42,175. Market update brought to you by The Good Feet Store. Ready to step into a healthy and active lifestyle? Come to The Good Feet Store and experience the difference. Discover how a simple step can lead to a life of pain-free possibilities.
Let's move the chains. Time for football at 4.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. For the next 10 minutes, I'm going to let my imagination be optimistic.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the ceiling, if you will, for the Carolina Panthers.
All right.
The Panthers may have been the junky-looking hot rod. I'm gonna
go on.
Fully explain all of this, but just know that in this analogy, Andy Dalton is a car guy. He's like for those of you that watched Home Improvement, he's like Tim the Toolman Taylor. He's the car guy. All right. I had a buddy early when I lived out in Nebraska that flipped cars. He goes out and he buys cars like off of Facebook Marketplace or off of some I don't even know, some junker's website, and then he rebuilds them, makes them look nice, sells them. Obviously make some money on it. And I had the same reaction every time he bought a car. I'd go, that is a piece of junk. What? You just how much did you pay for that? And he had to do the car guy thing, which is, like pop the hood and go, no, you got to take a look at this engine. You got to take a look at this. It's got the with the 9 1/4 975er Omega 9er. And I don't know car things. The frame and the this and it's rare and the that and it's gonna purr. I just got to put a little work into it. And I was like, all right. And then sure enough, 9 months later, it looked like it's out of a car magazine and then and he'd take it to some car show and sell it for a bunch of money. And I'm like, that's pretty darn impressive. Again, Andy Dalton is the car guy in this analogy. When I let my imagination run wild a little bit, Andy Dalton is looking at the Panthers offense in weeks 1 and 2, and we're all looking at it like I did at the beginning of the car, right? I'm going that is a piece of junk. They scored 13 points in the first 2 games combined. They didn't have any running backs run for a touchdown. They didn't have any receivers or tight ends catch a touchdown. I'm looking at it going, that's a piece of junk. You can't drive that across town, let alone sell it for more. And then Andy Dalton pops the hood and goes, well, look at this engine. Meaning pops the hood, go, look at this offensive line. They're blocking. They're preventing pressures. And then he's, looking over here and he's tapping something and steam comes out and he's like, that's a great wide receiver right there. That's Deontay Johnson. That's 100-plus yards just waiting to get utilized. It's just right now with the rust and you don't have this and we need to get a spit shine here. Eventually, once the quarterback gets in there, once the right driver gets in there, it's going to be great. And then Andy Dalton pulls up week 3, leather jacket on like he's one of the greasers from Greece talking about Grease Lightning. Like, I told you. Just needed the right driver. Just needed the right mechanic. The 33rd team, which is an online advanced analytics website, posted the offensive lines with the lowest pressure rates through week 3. So offensive lines that have allowed the lowest percentage of pressures per play, right? So if you play 10 plays, you have a 30% pressure rate, it's going to be 3 pressures. The top 3 were the Ravens were number 1,
okay,
23.1%. The Panthers were number 2.
All right, let's go.
24.3%. And the Jets were number 3 at 25%. If that's where the story ends, that's a good engine. As a quarterback, offensive line, your best friend. There's a reason why every Christmas we see all those viral videos of like Josh Allen gave all of his offensive linemen side-by-sides. And, oh, look at this. Kyler gave them all one-of-a-kind custom Jordans or whatever. They spend all the money on the offensive line. It's because the offensive line, if they play well, your job becomes 1,000 times easier. So if I just said they had the second lowest pressure rate through week 3, that alone, awesome. But it gets better when you realize Ravens are number 1 and Jets are number 3. Because if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm not going to pressure Lamar and Rodgers the same way as I pressure other quarterbacks because they are Lamar and Rodgers, right? Because if you send an extra defender at Lamar and he makes a miss, now he's running downfield with one less guy chasing him. If you send an extra rusher at Aaron Rodgers, he simply snaps off a quick hot route to Allen Lazard, and suddenly it's a first down. Now look at who the Panthers were playing at quarterback. A very obviously rattled young quarterback and a 36-year-old making just his second start in years at quarterback. Defensive coordinators are probably thinking, I need to dial up the pressure against those guys. I need to see if I can rattle them. Yet still, the Panthers are second best in the league in lowest pressure rates. Taylor Moton, their tackle, 3rd in the league out of all tackles with a 2.8% pressure rate. That's a good engine. Deontay Johnson, I wish I knew more about cars. He's a good some other part under the hood that is expensive to fix, but it's strong and well made. And Dalton knows how to use them. He knows how to drive. Dave Canales was asked about the chemistry between Andy Dalton and Deontay Johnson, that wide receiver.
This is a real challenge, to come into a situation where most of your reps haven't gone to Deontay, but both of those guys are experienced players who are very serious about the game plan, about working through the nuances of the routes all the way through the plan. And so that was a full week process all the way through Saturday of talking, on game day talking, having those conversations on the sideline. So just a great job by those two guys to find good work together.
I'm telling you. When my mind wanders to the ceiling, to the most optimistic, which I do think is a good exercise to do every now and then. I think, based on the fandom history over the last 6 or 7 years of the Panthers, it's very easy to let your mind wander to, what if this doesn't work? Or, last time I believed in them, this happened.
Just waiting for the carpet get yanked out from
exactly.
underneath
You're waiting for the other shoe to drop. The other one is also fun, right? It's when things go well, how does that look? And what it looks like is you start to recognize there were some good parts of the offense when Bryce Young was there. It's just for whatever reason, when you put all some of the parts together, it looked like a junky, rusted out old car. But somebody with a little bit of knowledge. I don't know if you see this. I don't know why this motivational Instagram post shows up everywhere. It shows up on my Twitter feed, like screenshotted. It shows up on my Facebook feed. It's about the dad that gives the kid the car. And he gives him a car, and it's an old car, right? And he goes, I want you to go to the dealership and see how much they'll give it for you. And the dealership says, it's a pretty old car, a lot of miles on it, $5,000. Comes back, he goes, all right, I want you to go take it to, the kid in your school that has the Lamborghini and see if he'll buy it from you. And the guy goes, oh, what am I going to do with this? I have a Lamborghini, $3,000. Then he goes, all right, I want you to take it to this classic car show down there, see how much they're going to pay you for it. Takes it down there, and of course the classic car show guys are like, oh my gosh, it's a 1970 whatever, and it's a got the original interior, and oh sure, it's got some miles, blah, 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 $75,000. And right, the moral of the story is you should know your worth and don't depend on someone else to know your worth, right? It's a whole analogy. But maybe the Panthers offense is that old car. Maybe it's, you take it to the wrong place, you treat it the wrong way, you look for the wrong things, you look like you do in week 1 and week 2. But if you give it to an expert, somebody that's been around for a long time, somebody that knows how to make it work, knows what to look for, looks like it did in week 3. I think that's the best argument for this being sustainable. And I'm not saying like 300 yards, 3 touchdowns every game. I'm saying like an above average offense weekly. I think the best argument for that is all the pieces were there. They just didn't have a experienced enough driver to bring them together. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Before we move on, and we do have quite a bit to get to, here's Dennis Cox.
Hey, Dennis Cox here for my friends over at Loan Pronto. Lower mortgage rates are finally here, folks, thanks to the Fed and Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto just locked in a homeowner at 4.59% APR, the lowest in 2 years. Now, whether you got your loan last month or last year, it's time to call Loan Pronto and dump that high-rate loan. You can lock in a lower rate fast with virtually no paperwork and usually no appraisal. There's no limit on how many times you can refi, so get started. Use this opportunity to get cash out and wipe out your credit cards. You could do a cash-out refi and get 70 $100,000, maybe $75,000, whatever it is that you need or more out of your home. Use that to pay off all those high interest debt and end up with just one low monthly payment. If you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Purchase loans available as well, so call now. Get your rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. VA Streamline loans are also available with Loan Pronto. Call 919-381-1760 or loanpronto.com. 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Not only do we have Panthers' confidence and concerns coming up, we also have to talk about how important tonight is for Danny Dimes, the Duke product. Daniel Jones on Thursday Night Football. All of that coming up next right here, The Drive.
We're kicking it this fall with college football. Join 99.9 The Fan all season long and catch your favorite teams in action. The ACC, the SEC, and every conference that matters. You'll find the best matchups here.
Carolina wins it 47-45 in double overtime.
College football on 99.9 The Fan is brought to you by Wake Med, Sammy's Tap and Grill, and Roofworks.
Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win, breakaway, pick six, three-point shot, underdog win, buzzer beater, shootout, walk-off, and absolutely every play in between is amazing. From football to basketball and hockey to baseball, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov. 21 plus only.
I'm Kamala Harris. Here's a few things I believe. Middle-class families, like the one I grew up in, they want common sense solutions. You want lower prices and lower taxes. I believe you want to just not get by, but you want to get ahead. We must create an opportunity economy where everyone has a chance to get a car loan, buy a home, start a business. And I believe we can make that happen.
Kamala Harris's plan? Bring down costs by cracking down on corporate price gougers. Make homeownership more affordable for families. A middle-class tax cut for 100 million Americans. And make sure billionaires and big corporations pay their fair share so you can keep more of the money you've earned.
And instead of being focused on the politics of the past, we need to be thinking about the future and how we make it better for families like yours. I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
It's bow time. It's not just football season. It's tailgate season. And that includes every kind of football, whether it's got goalkeepers or goalposts. The kick is good! Because it doesn't matter where or how you tailgate. When you've got crispy chicken and fluffy buttermilk biscuits from Bojangles, your tailgate is better than great. It's legendary. Head to Bojangles and order your tailgate box with boldly seasoned chicken, fixins, biscuits, and legendary iced tea today. It's bow time.
Planning a tailgate? Then it's bow time. Bojangles has everything you need for the perfect tailgate, no matter how many fans you're trying to feed. There's the original tailgate, the super tailgate, and for a really big crowd, the jumbo tailgate special. And if you like your chicken off the bone, choose the Supreme's tailgate special that includes 12 perfectly seasoned tenderloin fillets. So grab the tickets, get that Bojangles tailgate special, and go. It's bow time.
The clock is ticking. Diamonds Direct's ultimate offer is almost over. Until September 30th, you can get 5 years of 0% financing on any purchase. It's the perfect chance for worry-free shopping with no interest and monthly payments customized for you. And now open Sunday, September 29th. Take advantage of this amazing opportunity. From luxury timepieces to engagement rings and more. Don't wait. Spread your payments over 5 years with zero interest on approved credit. Only until September 30th. For details and more, visit DiamondsDirect.com.
Want to keep your gas-powered engines running like new? Stable's proprietary formulas are proven by third-party testing to outperform the competition in keeping fuel fresh, preventing corrosion, and cleaning the entire fuel system. With Stable, you can have confidence you are doing the right thing for your engine's long-term health. Just pour into your gas can or fuel tank, then top off with fresh fuel. At every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable. Available where fuel additives are sold.
This is The Drive. I'm Tim Donnelly, Dennis Cox producing the show, and it's time for Panthers, Cons and Cons. What are you most confident about? What are you most concerned about when it comes to the Carolina Panthers? Much easier this week than the past couple, especially finding that confidence. A lot easier this week than in the past. We don't start with confidence, though. We start with concern. My concern is simple. A letdown. It's
okay.
From just the high week 3. Sometimes there's no choice but to kind of let the air out of the balloon a little bit here, right? That victory on Sunday meant a lot to a lot of people. You could feel it in the locker room. The game ball presented to Dave Canales, the celebration for Andy Dalton. Matter of fact, we have some audio here. Andy Dalton on what Sunday's victory meant for him.
Yeah, it meant a lot. You know, anytime you get a chance to be out there, especially at this point in my career, you know, you're trying to enjoy every moment of it. And so for us to go and play the way we did last week, it was, it was exactly how you wanted it to go. So it was fun to have my wife there, my parents there, had some friends there, and everybody got to enjoy that one. And so it was a cool game. It was one that I'll look back at my career. It'll be one that I'll definitely look back on.
That's high praise. What do you have for a follow-up? Like you talk about it more in college than the pros, but the game after a big emotional victory is always a little bit of a concern. We have more audio here, so let's use it. Dave Canales on the mentality of the team coming off a win.
For me, it's just the next game. There's you don't carry all of those wins or losses into the next game. It's just this one. They're right back to work, I'm sure, just like we are. We're focused on this game, and we can't think about what happened in the last week.
You know what else this is? It's the first game Dave Canales has ever coached after a win as a head coach.
How do you handle success?
How do you handle success? And there's also the added element of sometimes it's hard not to buy into the hype and just assume that life with Andy Dalton is awesome and everything works. He stepped in, and life was awesome. That's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, don't take it for granted.
So that's my concern. A little bit of letdown. What's your concern, Dennis?
My concern is Joe Burrow.
Well played.
Well, in the sense of the Carolina Panthers still struggle with generating pass rush. I know they got 3 sacks in the last game, but some of those came late. For example, there was a garbage time won by Jadeveon Clowney late in that game when it was Aiden O'Connell was in there. I still think the lack of consistent pass rush up front, still obviously Derrick Brown's done for the year, but Shai Tuttle did not practice again today from my understanding based off what I saw. And we all know there isn't a whole lot outside of Jadeveon Clowney. I know this past game they used Trevin Wallace, even on the edge a little bit. Shaq Thompson, again, on the edge a little bit, just to try and generate a little
speed.
That lack of pass rush or consistent pass rush, you get a guy like Joe Burrow, if he's standing in the pocket with time and is comfortable with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins running around over there, not good.
And
not
Yoshi,
good.
Andre Yosivas.
Him too.
Mike Gesicki.
That guy. Yeah, no, he's a tight end.
Zach Moss out of the backfield. Brown out of the backfield.
Yeah, them too.
No, I agree with that. I mean, also just an angry and surprisingly playing well Burrow. Like Burrow didn't punt, didn't have a turnover in their last game. They lost, but he was playing well.
Hey, don't tell Chris Canty from ESPN that.
Anyone that has seen that, that's
gosh. It's like, all right, dude.
I don't even know if I want to amplify it even more and say go look at what Chris Canty said, because that's probably his goal. But just an all-time wild opinion. Confidence for the Panthers. What are you most confident in? I'm going back to an oldie but a goodie. I'm confident in Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah. He had a heck of a day on Sunday.
And he looked exactly like what we thought he was in preseason.
Mm-hmm.
That he is a grinder that can move the sticks, that is going to be physical ending his runs. He can do a little catch out of the backfield. That's what we thought Chuba Hubbard was. And it's good to feel like you knew what you were looking at. That's his role. When he is in his best, that's what he's asked to do. And he rewarded you with over 100 yards. He had the touchdown on the first drive. Picked up some hard-earned first downs, like I said. I'm just confident that you have a running back. Obviously you love the home run threats, but sometimes it's frustrating to have the guy that, you give him the ball 4 times, he loses 2 yards on each of them. And then you give him the ball the 5th time, and he runs for 50, and his average yards per carry is huge. But you're like, yeah, except he helped us get 2 3-and-outs before that. Chuba Hubbard is very rarely stopped behind the line of scrimmage. Probably not going to give you 50 either, but it's good to know you have that to lean on in an offense. I'm confident in Chuba.
My confidence when it comes to the Carolina Panthers this Sunday, it's the first time in a long time you felt positive vibes in that building. A positive energy. It's like, hey, you know what? We know we just did this, but we got to build off this thing. There's actually a level of, it's almost like rejuvenation, I guess you can feel because last year there was none of it. Zero of it. The first 2 weeks there was none of it. But to feel like this week it's we can do this.
Did you not feel it going into week 1?
This year?
Yeah.
Maybe going into, but it quickly disintegrated after about one play on offense.
It was the deep ball on defense followed up by the interception on the first play on offense.
Yeah.
Definitely air out of the balloon immediately.
Yeah, it popped the balloon.
I do think there was some felt fresh going into the game, which is why that was such a cold glass of water to the face. But you're right. Obviously, it's fresh again going into week 4 against the Bengals at home, by the way.
By the way, I think Bank of America is going to be much more full than we've seen it in the last few years.
I hope so. And the Bengals are they're buzzworthy.
Sure, obviously.
Whether the Panthers are playing good or not, there's Burrow's famous.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I mean, cheap tickets for a good portion of this, and then also you're coming off a win. Winning solves everything. It's a cliche, but it's there for a reason. Oh, no people are coming to the games. Win. Oh, the players, win. Oh, our quarterback. Winning solves everything.
The reason why I say that is, for example, it's $52 is like on, for example, looking at SeatGeek. This is before fees and all that stuff. $52 is a ticket, and that's sitting in the upper level. A couple weeks ago, going into the game against the Chargers, you're looking at that 52 being less than $20.
Yep.
So I mean, it's a difference. I took the train down on last 2 weeks ago. I took the train from Raleigh here down to Charlotte to cover the game, and I didn't have anyone sitting next to me. There were open seats on the train all the way down, all the way back. Train that leaves Raleigh at 6:30 in the morning to go down to Charlotte, completely sold out
for this Sunday.
For this coming Sunday, coming back, both trains, like the 5:30 and the 7:45 trains coming back from Charlotte to Raleigh, both completely sold out on a Sunday. And it's like, well, they have that extra one for Panthers games to get back to the Triangle, that 7:45 one, and it's sold out. That tells me people are going.
Now they just have to get in there, stay in there, make it into the stadium. Hopefully, or the game is good enough to keep them around, and there's not the mass exodus. You get them there, that's one part. Keeping them there is the second part.
Hey, you know what? Like you said, if you look good and you win this weekend,
winning,
people will start showing out even more.
Everything. And you know what? Hopefully that would show. Hopefully that would show Tepper that winning makes money.
Imagine that.
And then somebody who is as seemingly interested in acquiring as much money as possible will then realize winning leads to money, and then who knows? He'll become the best owner in sports. Like,
well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Some people
here.
I said it expired, but I said this hour I was letting the good part of my imagination run wild.
All right, that's fair.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. What does the good part of the imagination do for Danny Dimes tonight? Daniel Jones, and I'm not even saying this like to artificially increase the stakes of a random Thursday night game. I'm saying this full-hearted belief. He has a wildly important game for him and his career tonight versus the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. Do you know what Danny Dimes' record on Mondays and Thursdays is?
I'm going to go with terrible.
0-12.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
With a few real heartbreakers. I don't know if everybody remembers this one. There was a Thursday night where Taylor Heineke threw an interception seemingly to lose the game for Washington with like a minute 17 left. Somehow they got the ball back, and he scored to win the game as time expired. It was one of those weird Heineke magic things. But you don't realize on the other side of that, it's Daniel Jones. He is 0-12 on Monday and Thursday. He has not won a game that wasn't played on a Sunday. The Matt Stafford effect will be in complete and total effect tonight. Here's what the Matt Stafford effect is, for those of you that don't know. The Matt Stafford effect is the games you play in prime time, the games you play when everybody is watching, the standalone games when there's no other games going on, wildly impact your reputation around the league. Way more so than a Sunday at 1 o'clock game. The reason it's called the Matt Stafford effect is because for all those years Matt Stafford was in Detroit, the only game he played that was a standalone in a bunch of these years was Thanksgiving, right? You knew the Detroit Lions were going to play on Thanksgiving. You knew there would be no other game on. You'd be with your family and you'd watch the game. And if Matt Stafford played really, really well in that Monday or in that Thanksgiving game, at the end of the year, everyone would be talking about how good Matt Stafford is and how he's being held back by his bad team, the Detroit Lions. If he played bad in that Thanksgiving game, the end of the year, everyone would be talking about how'd he put up all those stats? He's not even any good. And honestly, you'd have to watch every game to get a judge of how good he is. But the primetime element, so much of it was decided by the one time we all sat around and communally watched him. The Giants have tonight's Thursday night football game. They have one Sunday night game against Cincy and one Monday night game against Pitt. Those games are going to decide in a lot of ways how Danny Dimes is looked at heading into the offseason, which is a very, very important offseason for him. There's an out in his contract that the Giants could get out and pay only $22 million in dead cap, or have only $22 million in dead cap after this year, which isn't that much. And then there's this other comparison that happens with Daniel Jones. Have you seen the Trevor Lawrence stuff? Where if you put Daniel Jones' career stats especially through however many starts.
Okay.
And Trevor Lawrence is next to each other. They are darn near identical.
I've seen that with like Gardner Minshew and Trevor Lawrence.
That probably similar. I've heard, and it's always met with some kind of weird caption that says like, like Daniel Jones is just Trevor Lawrence with short hair, or like something jokey like that. And every time I see it, I go, it seems like Trevor's played a lot better. But then you realize, like, well, he had that one ridiculous comeback that everybody watched. He had a few good primetime games that everybody watched. And because of that, it seems like he's playing better, but a lot of the stats are very, very similar. It's the Matt Stafford effect. He played well in the games that everybody was watching. Daniel, falls over while running 80 yards when everybody's watching, and that becomes how you remember him. Why tonight, though? Why is this one more important, I think, even than Sunday night football against Cincinnati later in the season? Well, according to Art Stapleton, who covers the Giants, the last meaningful Giants win over the Cowboys at home was in 2016. You have to win the games that your fan base can brag about. You already lost to Washington in a gross fashion where you didn't have a kicker. You already lost to Washington. At a certain point, I don't care if Ryan Day wins every other game. If he can't beat Michigan as the head coach of Ohio State, he's going to get the heave-ho. If you're the Giants quarterback and you can't beat the Cowboys, particularly at home where your fans are going to get to see it, you're going to wear out your welcome. And then there's this other part, and pay attention for it today. Malik Neighbors is the real deal. They drafted him, one of the top wide receivers off the board. He is the real deal. He made 2 unbelievable catches this past week. Made 2 touchdown catches. One of them was a leaping 360. It looked like almost if you were to catch an alley-oop for a dunk, but you were in the end zone and you had to keep your feet in bounds. It's unreal. They need to decide who's going to be the guy that grows old with Neighbors, and who's going to be the guy that is going to convince Neighbors to sign a big contract with the Giants to stick around. They need to get the pairing there. And if it's not Daniel Jones, they got to find it within the next year or two, because that's when Neighbors is going to have to start making decisions. He's that good. And you'll see it tonight, I'm confident. Big night for Duke's own Daniel Jones.
You can listen to that game right here on The Fan, by the way.
Check it out, right here, 99.9 The Fan. And also, Duke's having a good year, Daniel. Keep building off of it. Lean on your alma mater. They're 4-0. Catch the vibes. Take them to Thursday night football. Maybe he'll be at the Duke-UNC game this weekend.
He might be.
I saw Drake May was at the UNC game against JMU, but because they played on Thursday night last week. Maybe he'll show up for his Blue Devils. Maybe
he should.
Depending on how Thursday night goes, I'm sure. Might be canceling everything depending on how it goes. Who knows? The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Let's jump into a good what-if. This is a good sports debate here.
Ooh, okay. Like good what-if.
For those of you that haven't seen it, Derrick Rose retired. Now,
NBA star.
For some of you, that means nothing. Derrick who? Derrick what? If you didn't pay attention to NBA basketball from 2010 to 2014?
I think it was first overall pick in 2008, if I remember correctly.
And then 2011, I think, was his MVP year.
Mm-hmm.
Then he had a knee injury, never the same. Played all the way through, obviously, 2024. So, it's pretty darn impressive. Had a few moments of that's what it used to be. Scored 50 when he was on the Timberwolves. It was a real emotional thing. Cried in the postgame. But he is... Even somebody that reached his, when he was on the Bulls at his peak, he was the guy that was expected to battle LeBron James in the East for the next however many years. Then the injury happened, and like I said, it was never the same. He's one of the great what-ifs. Go look at some of the explosion on his dunks early in his career, and it looks like he's jumping off a trampoline. And he's just not. He's just that powerful. He was wide-bodied. He could handle. He was... an unreal point guard. Number 1 recruit in high school, went to Memphis, came up 1 game short of a national championship that was eventually vacated. But it's a whole thing. Very, very good player. Also, one of the great what-ifs. So we thought, right, this is one of the all-time great sports debates, the all-time what-ifs. People jump right to the Bo Jacksons, right? There's a few that are always mentioned. But we thought we'd put a little triangle flair on it, a little North Carolina flair. Who were the all-time what-ifs that played or had connections or grew up or something connected to North Carolina. And I'm giving you I guess we could go in any direction. I'm thinking more injury what-ifs. And if you have an answer, feel free to comment on our YouTube live stream. Well, who's the greatest injury what-if related to North Carolina history? You can also send it to us on Twitter at Donnelly Sports, DONNELLY SPORTS. Dennis, I'll let you go first because I have a feeling you're going to lead me into one of mine.
I was thinking Jabari Parker from Duke had the knee injury early in his career. He was drafted, I think I remember correctly, his first round in 2014.
Second overall
to the Milwaukee Bucks. Knee injury early in his career, just never fully recovered from it.
If you put, and he had knee injuries, I think, in high school, and it just he never really shook it all the way. Always compared to Carmelo Anthony. I remember that. He was the next Carmelo Anthony. But can you imagine if there was the next Carmelo Anthony as like a just in his prime as Giannis showed up guy?
Yeah.
Who knows what those Bucks teams would have done. The reason why I had a feeling you were going to go that way. In doing this exercise, do you know what I learned? There's a lot of former Duke players that would be on this list. There's Jabari Parker, who you mentioned. Harry Giles, who just signed with the Hornets. Former #1 overall recruit, super talented big man. Even at Duke was already being hampered by injuries and never really got a chance to live up to
even
it.
like it was his sophomore, junior in high school tore his ACL.
There's Bobby Hurley, who early in his NBA career got in a car accident, was never quite the same. There's Jay Will, who early in his NBA career got in the motorcycle accident, could barely play from that point forward. There's Grant Hill, who
the ankle injuries.
We were going to get T-Mac and Grant Hill in Orlando. Grant Hill was supposed to be the guy to take the MJ torch when he was in Detroit, and we were going to see him unlock everything in Orlando. Then the ankle injury. Then there were ankle infections. Then there were they might have to amputate. And he ended up working his way into being like a role player for another 10 years in the league. I remember him with Phoenix. But that's a lot of Duke really good players that fall somewhere on the spectrum of what if about injuries. Which is, I don't know, it's a shame. Probably 40 years ago they would have called it a curse, but I'm not superstitious. Any others that stand out to you, Dennis?
I was actually thinking here in the state of North Carolina, I was thinking because I think it cut his career short is Cam. Like, you think that, what if Cam Newton never had the shoulder injury in 2018? You think we'd be in this quarterback mess as a Carolina Panthers organization? I don't think so.
It's tough. It's tough.
Because he had the shoulder injury 2018, and then he had the foot injury 2019, and then Matt Rule shows up and all that, and Tepper buys the team, and before you know it, he's let go.
Yep.
I know he comes back, but, I mean, he never was the same after that shoulder injury, and he had only been in the league for about, I think it was his 8th year, because he got in the league in 2011, and that was 2018. He was only 8 years in. Like, man, could you imagine if he had 4 more really good years?
No, you're right. It's a good answer. The reason why I'm just hesitating, like, would he still, like, when you draft a running quarterback, you know their shelf life is not as long as the pocket passers. It's just you would have hoped by now he would have transitioned away from depending on his legs so much, and it's a what if. I mean, that's why we're doing it. It's a what if.
And the thing is, the shoulder injury happened when he was standing in the pocket throwing. He got hit by TJ Watt, so it's like he was when he was in the pocket.
I agreed. It's the number of hits.
You're going to take accumulation.
You're going to take a certain amount of hits regardless, just by playing football. You're going to take a few more if you run, and he's so big. Why would he not? Emphasis his physicality. I have this Larry Johnson with the Hornets.
Oh man, good one.
He was really, really good. They drafted Alonzo Mourning. Some people are saying, like, all right, there you go. You got your 2. That's what you need. The back injury never quite got right. Even when he was with the Knicks, he may have gotten, like, a little bit more big city glam, but he was never the player he was earlier with the Hornets. And then I don't know if this is stretching the rules because it's not a player who, like, lost out on something because of an injury, but it's a Mac Brown, Colt McCoy in the national championship game.
Okay.
Whatever that was, 2010, 9. Colt McCoy got hurt in, like, the 3rd play. He was a senior, like, 4-year starter, like the dude that drove everything for that Texas team. And right off the gate. It's like, nope, backup's in. And that's not fair in a national championship game. Garrett Gilbert wasn't able to make it happen. But if that injury doesn't happen, Mac Brown might have 2 championships at Texas. Then who knows what happens from there. Probably stems off the chasing you away a little bit more. Maybe stays at Texas a little bit longer. Who knows if he even comes back to North Carolina. There's like, it's a true butterfly effect. If, something changes in Texas, does North Carolina now have Lincoln Riley as its head coach? I don't know how it would have worked out. I'm just saying it's an injury that kind of changed the course of a lot of people's career.
Joel from High School OT pointed this one out earlier to us today. Bryce Love, who played at Wake Forest High School right here in Wake County, went to Stanford, was the guy that followed Christian McCaffrey, had a 2,100-yard season in 2017.
Heisman finalist.
Decides to go back for his fourth year of school. Ends up hurting his knee, ACL tear. He got drafted by Washington as kind of like, all right, we can kind of maybe see if he rehabs. Never even stepped foot in the NFL game.
Yeah, that's those ones really sting.
Yeah.
Especially that's pre-NIL. He didn't get a chance to nearly benefit off of the type of player he was simply due to an injury.
Fox Bandito on our YouTube Live, Josh Hamilton.
That is
from
a good
North
one.
Carolina.
That's a good one.
Great answer.
There's injuries and other what-ifs involved in that, but that's as far as natural ability, some call him the most talented, born gifted baseball player that they've ever seen. And for a multitude of reasons, one of them being injury, he didn't get a chance to live up to it. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Before we move on, I need to tell you about Capital Financial. Tim Donnelly here for Capital Financial Advisory Group. You want to play the what-if game. The what-if game is one that you definitely need to call Capital Financial about, because when it comes to your retirement plan, your retirement account, your retirement funds, you want to be prepared for every single kind of what-if. You don't want to be, what if the market tanks? You don't want to be dependent on the market for your income in retirement. What if I need extreme long-term care at the end of life? You want that covered. You don't want to be a burden to your next of kin. Coach Pete is passionate about helping guide you through retirement. And after 3 decades in the financial arena, he's still building customized and total retirement playbooks. In fact, he recently told me about the game-changing strategy behind a successful and total retirement plan. It's just like football. You want to gain yards as you advance the ball down the field and have a defensive strategy in place to protect yourself against all those what-ifs. Bottom line, you don't want to lose your gains, and you don't want to have to depend on the market to lock in your gains. With his specific blueprint for you, you can be sure to keep those gains, a strategy that Wall Street tries to keep from you, but Coach Pete is passionate about helping folks build their retirement with this very strategy. So give them a call. 800-691-3215. That's 800-691-3215. Or text my name, Tim, to 600-700. Whether you call or text, let him know you heard about it from me, Tim, on 99.9 The Fan. You'll get a copy of one of Coach Pete's best-selling books for free. Just go ahead and give him a call, 800-691-3215. Or text Tim, T-I-M, to 600-700. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Mike Glennon joined me earlier today here in studio to talk about Bryce Young, talk about NC State, and so much more. Go ahead and check that out. Coming up next.
Is your heating and air system ready for cooler weather? Call Newcomb & Company today to schedule a routine maintenance and ensure your system is operating at peak performance. Become a Comfort Contract customer to receive priority service and a 15% discount on service calls and repairs for HVAC and plumbing work. Newcomb & Company has served the area as a Carrier Factory authorized dealer for more than 3 generations. Turn to the experts today. Call 919-862-3000 or find us at newcombandcompany.com. Newcomb & Company and Carrier. Your comfort is our business.
Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars rewards. Win or lose, every bet you place brings you closer to perks only Caesars can offer. Hotel stays, bonus bets, game tickets, and more. Download the app using the promo code Radio1000 and you'll place your first bet today. If you win, great. If not, you'll get it back as a bonus bet up to $1,000. Must be 21 plus and physically present in North Carolina. New users only must register using eligible promo code. First bet after registration must qualify. Max bonus bet $1,000. Bonus bet expires 14 days after receipt. Void where prohibited. See Caesars.com/promos for full items. Tribal Casino Gaming Enterprise is the licensed operator by the North Carolina State Lottery Commission. Know when to stop before you start. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
When you buy a new house, you might say,
"Shut the front door."
Winning No, seriously. Shut the front door. We own this house now.
But you actually need to say,
like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
That's right. The local State Farm agent is there to help you choose the coverage you need.
Welcome to my crib. No one says that anymore, but I don't care.
So just remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
State Farm, Bloomington, Illinois. Martha was ready to switch to a career in IT.
There's always a need for IT specialists, especially with AI coming out and cybersecurity. It's practically recession-proof.
My Computer Career even provides job placement help.
The career specialists, they're very helpful. They care about you as a person. You're not just a number to them. I would recommend My Computer Career wholeheartedly to anyone.
Take the free career evaluation today. Become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
To get people excited about Boost Mobile's new nationwide 5G network, we're offering unlimited talk, text, and data for $25 a month.
Forever.
Even if you have a baby.
Even if your baby has a baby.
Even if you grow old and wrinkly and you start repeating yourself.
Even if you start repeating yourself.
Even if you're on your deathbed and you need to make one last call.
Or text.
Right, or text. The long-lost son you abandoned at birth.
You'll still get unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month with Boost Mobile.
Forever!
After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan.
Forever.
It's Tim Donnelly for Window Nation. Did you know that most of your home's cold AC this summer leaked out through your old windows? Save money year-round with energy-efficient ones from Window Nation. Right now, buy 2 windows and get 2 free. Plus, pay nothing for 24 months. Love your windows like Albert, who says great value, great product, and great customer service. Hurry, sale ends September 30th, so schedule a fast in-home estimate right now at 866-90NATION or at windownation.com. The Drive with Tim. The Drive with Tim Donnelly here on 99.9 The Fan. Joining us in studio, Mike Glennon, former NC State quarterback, longtime NFL quarterback, friend of the show. Mike, we've been talking like once a week during the football season here on this show. By the way, check out Pack Therapy Podcast. Mike and I host once a week talking about state football. We will mercifully is the way to say that, not start with state. We'll end with state. But we've been kind of tracking this Bryce Young quarterback situation with the Panthers, but with our once-a-week conversations. Andy Dalton put a little spice in that conversation with, I mean, I think there's a pretty obvious like player of the week from the FedEx Air and Ground or whatever it is. Like what did Andy Dalton do in that game that Bryce Young wasn't doing?
Yeah, I just got done watching Slime Time Live on Nickelodeon with my son, and Andy Dalton was an MVP nominee, but didn't pull out the victory
for
over
the
Sam Darnold.
Nickelodeon MVP.
Yep. No, Andy, I was very impressed with Andy Dalton. I always thought highly of Andy Dalton, but he looked like playing at the best of his career. Some of those balls he threw, the touchdown to Adam Thielen was as good of a ball as I've seen a quarterback throw in the NFL this year, probably. And it was great to see the energy and excitement around the team. It was like, we can do this. We belong. And I kind of hated it for Bryce Young at the same time because I've been in that situation where you get benched and there's a little human nature in it that you don't want it to look like it was all you. And it looked like it was a quarterback that made the difference. I mean, we saw Deontay Johnson have a career day. Mm-hmm. The whole team, it just looked like not only an NFL offense that belonged, but a good NFL offense. So not a good look for Bryce, but it is a good look for Dave Canales and the Panthers moving forward.
This is an analogy I've been working on today where Andy Dalton, like you I'm not a car guy, but every once in a while you're watching like a show or like one of those rehab car shows, and they say like, it looks like a junker. Maybe there's rust, but it's like, oh, the engine's kind of like, this is a great engine, and oh, look at this, whatever the car stuff is, it's impressive. I almost feel like Andy Dalton had that experience. I don't know if you pay attention to many of the advanced analytics and all that, but the Panthers' offensive line is giving up the second lowest percentage of pressures in the NFL. You mentioned Adam Thielen. You mentioned Deontay Johnson. Chuba Hubbard ran for 100, and he's somebody that has done that in the past. It's almost like the offense looked bad, but when Andy Dalton like sat down in the driver's seat, he was like, Oh, actually, there's some pieces here. Like the bones of this are really, really good. Is there something sustainable, or was that what I call the one-game bump where the beloved backup comes in, everybody rallies around him, you get one awesome game, and then they're going to come back down to earth?
I think we'll see more this week against the Bengals because I think there was a little bit of that one-game bump you talked about. I think they're probably had a good week of practice. It kind of gave the team a little hope. On the Raiders side, they were probably sleeping on the Panthers a little bit. And, you saw Antonio Pierce's comments after the game about how it sounded like players weren't playing very hard and they made a business decision and all that. So I think we'll know more after this week. Bengals 0-3, coming off a tough loss to the Commanders. Kind of a must-win for the Bengals to keep their playoff hopes alive. Obviously, they're not going to be sleeping on the Panthers. Andy Dalton's history with the Bengals and all that. So I think we'll know more next week if the bones are good. Another song, if the bones are good.
There you go.
But
Mike Glennon sings the hits next.
So you
99
can
on the Fan.
We can answer that question better next week.
We're talking with Mike Glennon, former NC State quarterback, longtime NFL quarterback. You brought up Andy Dalton playing the Bengals. Do you have any good revenge game stories, either yours or a teammate? Like, are you aware? I don't remember like if Vincent Jackson played against the Chargers when you were around or something like that. Are you aware of that? And is there a little maybe added motivation to make sure that guy has a moment?
Unfortunately, my revenge games were both nightmares. When I was with the Bears, I went to the Bucs, had a couple turnovers. We got blown out. When I was with the Giants, went to the Bears. Absolute nightmare. Ended my career. So I personally don't. I do think I
didn't know that off the top of my head, everybody. I did not bring that up specifically.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully it's not that for Andy Dalton.
Reminding me. I think naturally there is a little. Malik Willis last week said, no, like the Titans gave me an opportunity and all that, which is true. I didn't have any ill will to the Bucs, but at the same time, I went to a new team and went back to face my old teammates, and you want to play well. So I think Andy Dalton will have a little extra I don't want to even call it motivation, but there's a little extra that felt good. You have this vision of playing your former team and playing well. So I think that's probably what's going through Andy's head.
The last question we'll ask on this before we move on is Bryce Young's headspace. You mentioned that you felt bad for him. I said on air, like, he'll never say it out loud, and you're not allowed to almost feel this, so you suppress it. Sunday stunk for him, right?
Yes.
Like being on the sideline and watching that happen and the dancing in the locker room, that's just a rough spot to be. How does he dig himself out of whatever funk he has to be in?
Yeah, it's just a human nature. Maybe he's a better guy than me, but whenever I got benched, it wasn't I was rooting against the person, the quarterback that was in as a person, because you're friends with them. You want them to succeed. It's just that, you want to be the one out there succeeding, and you want to not feel like, man,
I wanted him to throw 4 interceptions. I wanted our team to win. So I wanted our defense to score 4 touchdowns because everyone else on the team were still my buddies. But I wanted to be able to look around and go, see, it wasn't me.
Right. And so he's, watching how that game's unfolding. He's seeing the excitement on the teammates' faces and in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more it's like I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be the guy that brought – walked into the locker room and got the game ball and all that. So for him mentally, it's a place that he's never been before. He was at Alabama and had all sorts of success, won the Heisman, won so many games there. So this is really the first time he's faced this kind of level of adversity. And he seems like a great kid with a kind of a sharp and resilient mind, the way that his dad kind of brought him up and all that. So he'll be able to claw his way out of it, but it's not easy to do.
Mike Glennon, former NC State quarterback, connecting with us here in studio on The Drive. Let's talk State quickly here. 59 points allowed to Clemson. By the way, if you want Mike's full, in-depth, much longer than a few-minute answer to this next question, you can catch it on the Pack Therapy podcast that we co-host, available everywhere podcasts can be found. What the heck happened in that one?
Yeah. As bad of a defensive performance I've seen under Dave Dorn and Tony Gibson in a long time. Just completely dominated at the line of scrimmage. Clemson offensive line was just pushing our defense linemen back into the linebackers. Linebackers weren't shedding blocks. Secondary wasn't wrapping up when they tackled. Offense turned the ball over 2 times in the first quarter, and the game was over. Right now, this team is not looking like what we expected. You know, we were at the beginning of the season, we were talking playoff caliber.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're talking, are they bowl eligible caliber? So something's got to change, and I think that's going to come from trying some new guys. Hopefully, maybe that'll at the very least, light a fire under the current starters. The positive is to take that CJ Bailey, the freshman quarterback, looked like he belonged and looked like there's something that they can kind of build around him and his skill set. So defensively, I think this week we'll see some guys hopefully playing kind of with their hair on fire and a level of effort better than what we saw in Clemson.
To end on a positive note for State fans, CJ Bailey took over as quarterback, true freshman, first start on the road at Clemson. Brutal kind of situation. Silver lining though, like how did he impress?
He definitely impressed. To be a 18-year-old true freshman and get your first start in Death Valley, and immediately things aren't going well. He looked like he belonged. He didn't press. He didn't look like it was too big for him. He didn't make bad decisions. And we see the skill set. He's got a live arm. He's got some athleticism to him. There's still some things mechanically I think he can improve on. But all in all, I think for his first career start, it was an impressive one.
His name's Mike Glennon. He's a friend of the show. He's also a 10-year NFL veteran and played his college ball at NC State. Mike, we appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
Once again, Mike Glennon. Check him out on the Pack Therapy podcast, along with me talking NC State football. And, I mean, there's a reason why we call it Pack Therapy, right? Sometimes you need to get through it together. That's where State fans are now. So check it out anywhere podcasts can be found, including on YouTube, where you can comment and leave questions for Mike that we answer each episode. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, the starting 5 presented by Ritchie Law Firm, including tonight's Thursday night football game. Stick around.
Football is on the menu tonight.
Showtime, prime time.
And we're delivering some fresh NFC action.
Here we go.
Woo! It's Dallas and the New York Giants.
Y'all know what time it is, huh?
Pregame starts at 7:30.
Hey, together, baby. We just do this one play at a time.
The NFL on 99.9 The Fan is brought to you by Wake Med.
We came here for one thing, to win.
99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports leader.
North Carolina football fans, picture this. You bet on your favorite player to score the first touchdown, and he throws an awesome block so his teammate can score instead. If this happens, BetMGM wants to give you another chance at the end zone. I'm Victoria Vodnecker with BetMGM, and there is BetMGM's second chance promotion, where you'll get your stake back if your first touchdown scorer scores second instead. That's right, bet on any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game. If you're right, you win. If your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash. Everyone knows the most exciting part of football is the score. With BetMGM's second chance promotion, you have a chance to keep the fun going after the first player crosses the goal line. Try the first touchdown score bet today. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only, North Carolina only. Existing customer offer subject to eligibility requirements. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
The clock is ticking. Diamonds Direct's ultimate offer is almost over. Until September 30th, you can get 5 years of 0% financing on any purchase. It's the perfect chance for worry-free shopping with no interest and monthly payments customized for you. And now open Sunday, September 29th. Take advantage of this amazing opportunity. From luxury timepieces to engagement rings and more. Don't wait. Spread your payments over 5 years with zero interest on approved credit. Only until September 30th. For details and more, visit DiamondsDirect.com.
It's Jeep Adventure Days at John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Lillington, and you are not going to believe what this can mean to you. How about $20,000 off all new 2024 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 4XEs? Yes, that means you can get into a brand new 2024 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 4XE right now at John Heister for over $20,000 off. I'd say that's well worth getting off your keister for. So get off your keister and get to John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Lillington.
Veterans, the Fed has done it. They've lowered interest rates, the moment we've all been waiting for. And at Loan Pronto, they've lowered mortgage rates along with it. Hey, it's Dennis Cox for my friends at Loan Pronto. Listen, if you're a veteran with a current mortgage rate over 6%, Loan Pronto can now do a streamlined refi, lowering your monthly payment with no income verification and no appraisal. Veterans can now access up to 100% of their home's equity and turn that into cash. You can get 50, 75, 100 grand or more with no junk fees and no hassle, with an APR in the low fives, so you can pay off all those credit cards, personal loans, and car loans. Veterans typically cut their monthly payments by $850. At Loan Pronto, they respect what you've done for our country, and they show it. Call now for a free rate quote with no credit pull. 919-381-1760. 919-381-1760. LoanPronto.com. LoanPronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm, Raleigh's injury lawyers.
Bounces his way into the end zone. Touchdown!
Visit GotBrian.com.
That's GotBrian.com. WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. Take us with you on radio, web, app, Alexa, and YouTube. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm WRAL meteorologist Mike Mays. Rain is likely this evening, the low 73. Our high 83 tomorrow. Showers and storms are likely mostly in the morning into early afternoon. That's when we have the greatest tornado threat. Later in the afternoon, mainly dry.
Weather update brought to you by Newcomb & Company, where your comfort is their business. Visit newcombandcompany.com. 5 o'clock check of your money. Dow Jones is up 260 points today to 42,175. Market update brought to you by The Good Feet Store. Ready to step into a healthy and active lifestyle? Come to The Good Feet Store and experience the difference. Discover how a simple step can lead to a life of pain-free possibilities.
It's 5 o'clock. Time to serve up the biggest sports stories of the day. Here comes your starting five.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan on a Thursday. The starting five is brought to you by the Ritchie Law Firm. Raleigh's injury lawyers. Visit gotbrian.com. That's GOTbrian.com. Let's jump into the starting five, starting with number 5.
5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We got NFL football tonight. PSA, check your fantasy lineups.
Yes.
Sometimes Thursday sneaks up on you, and then all of a sudden you're starting like the number 2 wide receiver for the Giants.
Or you're starting someone that's hurt.
Always that too.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, like if you actually, that's a good point. If you have somebody who might be injured on Sunday, you might have to put a Devin Singletary into your starting lineup tonight. So just double check everything. A little PSA for you out there. Cowboys at Giants.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I talked earlier about it. It's an interesting one for Danny Dimes. Daniel Jones, as a starting quarterback, has never won on a day that isn't Sunday.
Oh.
And the Giants, it's not like the Giants or the Panthers where it's you don't get anything other than Sundays. Right, because the Panthers don't get Thursday nighters or Monday nighters. They just get Sunday at 1. The Giants play in primetime. Daniel Jones is 0-12 on Thursday night and Monday night. Got to get that metaphorical monkey off his back. He's got to get off the schneid on that one. Also, the Cowboys are an interesting team in that I feel like if you kind of punch them in the mouth early, you can get them rattled. I don't know if everybody saw the CeeDee Lamb discourse this past week, where he was visibly upset and pouting kind of for the offense not playing well, so much so that he had to take ownership of it this week and say, like, I was not helping the team. I was part of the reason we were struggling. National television is a funny place for emotions to boil over. So if I'm the Giants, I'm trying to do something early to put Dak in a tough position.
Obviously, you can listen to the game on 99.9 The Fan.
We'd love for you to do that.
But this is where I think this game tonight, I think this is where you find out, at least in Dallas' situation, how strong is your locker room?
Mm-hmm.
Because you had Micah Parsons saying, like, too many guys trying to be Superman, trying to do too much. You got a bunch of high-paid talent over there. How good is your locker room? It's a massive question. You got talent. How good's your locker room?
And also, Dak and CD signed those deals right before the season for both, like, record-breaking cash in a lot of ways. To have those guys sign those deals, and then week 3, they're already going like, yeah, I was part of the problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I want a better return on my money than that. At least wait till week 6 before you start having to apologize for things.
Yeah.
I want a 100-yard game from CD. I want a 2-touchdown game from CD. I don't want apologies from CD. I'm giving you $30-something million per year. And in case you were wondering, yes, during that little exercise, I was Jerry Jones in that scenario.
Yeah, and you are paid to be the solution, not the problem.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't want apologies from you. I want it not to be a problem in the first place. And then the Giants, I mean, they've got their own issues, but I am impressed by Malik Neighbors early going. He looks really gosh darn good. As number 5, let's get to number 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, all together.
So yesterday, I think it was.
Okay.
This UNLV Matthew Sluka situation became public, and everybody had an opinion. If you don't know what the situation is, I'll give you the nuts and bolts of it real quick. Matthew Sluka transferred from Holy Cross to UNLV, quarterback, started this season, has led his team to an undefeated start. They are top 25 in the AP poll. They are one of the favorites as far as Group of 5 teams go to be the highest-ranked Group of 5 conference champion, which would get them into the college football playoff at the end of the year. Things were going well for the Runnin' Rebels until yesterday when their quarterback announced that he would not be continuing to play this year for UNLV because he wanted to preserve the eligibility year. He hadn't played in 4 games, or he had played in 4 games or less, so he could be a redshirt. And thus he could come back to college football next year. The reason being $100,000. He claims he was promised $100,000 by the coaches, by the collective, by the UNLV contingent. And then once he showed up on campus, they said, well, we'll pay you when school starts. He said, okay. Then they said, well, we'll pay you once games start. He said, okay. And then they played a bunch of games. They won them all, and he still wasn't getting paid. And they finally said, we're actually just going to give you $3,000 for relocation costs and nothing else. And sorry. So he said, well, I'm not going to play. Sorry. Again, the land of 1,000 opinions. How could you quit on your team? Oh, this team is negotiating in bad faith. Oh, the agent. Where is the agent? Oh, this is what's all that's wrong with college football. I'm going to focus in on some irony here. It's unbelievable how many different organizations and people can get caught up in trashing the player with just an unbelievable amount of hypocrisy. Like they are doing the same things, right? The amount of coaches that complain about the transfer portal only to not coach in the bowl game because they already accepted a job somewhere else is absurd. So UNLV, while this is going on with their with their quarterback, is also in a very tumultuous time for the future of their conference alignment. The Pac-12 is pillaging the Mountain West and taking teams, and UNLV has to decide whether they're going to go to the Pac-12, whether they're going to stay in the Mountain West. And obviously, they were talking with the Pac-12. They just decided, meaning yesterday, while all this is going on, to stay in the Mountain West. You may say, why? Well, it's because the Mountain West pledged to them a large financial payout, talking like $25+ million to stay. So if you were to break down what UNLV just did, they looked at the institution that they belonged to, their conference that they were a member of, and they said, we're going to leave unless you pay me more money. And then they're turning around and accusing one of their players of if you believe everything that the school is saying and nothing that the player is saying, the worst he's been accused of is saying, I've been playing well, I'm going to leave unless you give me more money. And UNLV is acting like that is preposterous. It is exactly what they just did. And if you believe the player, The player is saying, I'm not even asking for more money because I played well this year. I'm asking for the exact amount that was promised me before I played this year, which would make it even worse for the school. There's like a saying that you can't judge someone until you walk a mile in their shoes. I mean, just pretend you're in the player's shoes for 10 seconds here. If you're a coach, an AD, a collective head or president of a collective, just pretend you're in the player's situation. You don't even have to actually walk the mile in their shoes. Just try them on. Walk around the store. Get a feel for them. If you tell a player they're going to get $100,000 and you show up with $3,000, don't expect them to go, oh, well, water under the bridge.
It's just my last year to make money playing college football.
It's just
all
$100,000 to kickstart the rest of my life. Maybe he wants to start a business. Maybe he wants a down payment on a house. Maybe he's going to take $100,000, put it into a retirement account, and then retire when he's 55 because compound interest is a heck of a thing on $100,000 over 40 years. Maybe. And you just pulled that rug out from under him, and everyone's like, yeah, you're going to be cool. You'll be fine. Just play football for love of the game. I get it. And you know what? Maybe that shows how much the principle of it matters to him, because he's definitely having the thought of, this could have been a special season. This could have been the best season of my playing career. It could have been the one I tell my grandkids about, and he's walking away from it. Weird situation, man. If you want more insight on it, we did interview from Front Office Sports earlier today on the show, and it's already posted on our YouTube. We interviewed from Front Office Sports Margaret Fleming, who's written and reported on the subject a few times. So you go check that out on our YouTube page, 99.9 The Fan. That's number 4. Let's get to number 3. Derrick Rose announced he is retiring.
Yeah.
Former NBA MVP, multiple-time All-Star.
First overall pick in 2008.
Notoriously locked-in emotions guy. There are two – actually, there's a bunch of highlights I remember, but there are two, like, non-action highlights. I remember the dunks, the two-handed dunk where he tomahawked it all the way back and kind of kicked his heels back, so he made like a reverse C with his body and then dunked it and kept going up after he dunked it. Like, those highlights are crazy. But the two highlights that I think show maybe his personality a little bit are, have you seen the All-Star introductions? When there's they used to do this. I don't know why they stopped. They used to introduce the 5 All-Star starters at the NBA All-Star game and just play music and like let them dance. Mm-hmm. And he was an Eastern Conference All-Star starter. So it was LeBron, Dwight Howard, like these big personalities. And they're getting after it. Like, it's like Teach Me How to Dougie era dancing. So they're grooving. They're getting after it. And when I tell you Derrick Rose did not move a muscle. He was arms behind his back, standing like at ease, no emotion on his face. And there's a great clip where like they pan through the rest of the starters and they're head bobbing and they're, yeah. And then they get to Derrick Rose and it looks like he is standing at a funeral. And it's just, he's locked in. And then you pair that with playing for Chicago. I forget all of the context of the actual shot, but he makes a game winner, drills it. And he goes running down the to celebrate with his teammates, and his teammates pick him up, and he's doing the stone face. So everybody around him, yeah, they're like carrying him, and his face is just, which is like,
I'm sure everyone heard that, by the way.
I tried. It was just dead, and you know he cares because he tried hard. He was always well prepared and all of that. So it's not like he was not excited. It's just, you see Dame Lillard try to pull it off occasionally now, like the face, but Derrick Rose, he wasn't trying to pull anything off. It's just what he was. He was a competitor, pretty unbelievable, and it's a well-earned retirement. There are reports out there that he had like a $250 million Adidas contract that he signed right before he got hurt.
Really?
Which the timing is unbelievable. I would also say this, and I reserve this because I hate all of the, Austin Rivers said basketball players can play in the NFL. there are a few guys, I don't think they could just like transition now, but you watch them and you go, man, I really wish when you were 6, you fell in love with football more than basketball. I think Derrick Rose is a running back. I think Derrick Rose is a safety.
Yeah.
He has the build for it, the explosion. I mean, he might have been like an Ed Reed, Sean Taylor, like Miami safety if he didn't end up being the number 1 overall pick in basketball and making, like I said, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, way more money. He'll always be known as, man, what could have been, because his first 3 years in the league, lights out. 4th year in the league, playing awesome, has a knee injury, and just was never the same after that. Never was the same. I think the last time he played 50 games was the 2018-2019 season, that he just played 50. That's it. I mean,
so that's how it ended.
Yeah.
He's the youngest MVP in NBA history.
Yeah.
Like LeBron, Jordan, none of those guys won an MVP as young as Derrick Rose did back in, I think it was 2011. So, how it started, how it finished, not how we all anticipated it. But he's an unbelievable player. Went to Simeon High School in Chicago, same as Jabari Parker. Another what if.
Another what if. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, like Harry Giles.
Yep.
Played at Duke from North
Grant
Carolina.
Hill, Jay Will.
I know one of our listeners mentioned it, Hunter, as long as when we were talking with Joel from High School OT. Bryce Love, who went to Wake Forest High School, played at Stanford, was the guy that came in after Christian McCaffrey.
And do you realize how difficult this is? Christian McCaffrey left, I think it was the 9th overall pick.
Yeah.
Everybody's favorite running back. And Bryce Love didn't miss a beat the next year. Just as productive. And
went over 2,100 yards rushing.
And then came back the next year, probably chasing Heisman, chasing, the loftiest goals, got hurt, never ended up being the same, which is just a brutal beat.
He wanted to finish his degree.
And
that was the thing.
Again, the Joel, who you mentioned, did inform us that he is now a doctor and is extremely intelligent and successful outside of football.
So he's doing just fine.
The Stanford degree turns out is a nice thing to have to fall back on.
Yay.
If your NFL dreams fall a little short. It's impressive. That's number 3. Let's go ahead and jump into number 2.
Just the two of us.
The President's Cup going on as we speak, even.
Probably the golf people out there who don't know.
Yeah, I'll explain what it is. It's team golf, which is quite awesome. It is, like, most people have heard of the Ryder Cup, which is America versus Europe. This is America versus the rest of the world that's not Europe. They kind of alternate, so you get one a year. America versus Europe, it's exciting. It's I believe competitive. Europe is a worthy adversary. The rest of the world is not as much. The United States should win by a bunch. But I love, and this is the I'm a golf nerd, talk about it on the air all the time. If you're a golf nerd, we can talk. I'm in some nerdy golf pools. I like watching even Thursdays of like the John Deere Open. Doesn't have to be Sunday of a major. I'm also probably the biggest team sports fan that I know. I love the narratives of being in a locker room. I love the interpersonal relationships. I love to see how that impacts performance. There are really just 2 events that allow that to those 2 worlds to combine. Golf is a really, really, really notorious me versus me sport. Even if you're playing like a giant tournament where you're competing against a bunch, you're really just out there trying to play the best golf you can play and trying to control your negative thoughts and everything else. But at the Ryder Cup and at the President's Cup, we get team golf. And team golf is fascinating because these lone wolves suddenly are out there rooting for each other, helping each other read greens, talking strategy. Where should we be going here? Should we cut the corner? Should I go for the flag? Am I aiming for the fat part of the green? They become a team, and then on top of that, both the President's Cup and the Ryder Cup mix in, and Dennis and I were talking about this earlier, things like alternate shot, which means literally if I take a bad shot, if I shank it into the woods, I'm not the one that has to deal with it because it's alternate shot. My teammate then has to go roll up their pants and go into the mud in the woods and knock it back out for me so then I can try a nice little, fairway shot. It's it's the combination of one of the greatest individual pursuits, which is golf, and a team sport element, which makes it very interesting. I wish that the odds or whatever were more even, but it does appear as if the United States, and they're kind of jumping on them early. United States are up 3-0 according to ESPN, and it's the first to 15.5 points win, so they're already off to the races.
Always found the alternate shot to be the most fun. Just because you're so reliant on it's something that, again, like golf never does, and I think it's what makes it unique and interesting.
It's also weird, like the 4-ball, which is everyone plays their own ball all the way into the cup, and then you take the best score out of your team. The strategy of like if your first guy off the tee bombs it down the middle, the second guy can swing out of his shoes, right? Because he's like, we already got a safe one. You're probably going to at least par. We should be all right. I'm going to try to birdie the heck out of this. So I'm going for it. And you don't usually get to see golfers that good unlock like that because they're usually, if I spray this into the woods, that's really going to hurt me. In that case, they're like, if I spray this into the woods, you're in great shape to go ahead and get a good score. So there's unusual, like I said, it's team golf. And you got to make sure your teammate's competitive enough and comfortable enough for you to take more chances. In that scenario, it's fairly interesting. And it's happening in Canada, which is Canada. Royal Montreal Golf Club, which is an unusual spot for a big event like this. As number 2, let's go ahead and jump to number 1.
Go one!
Panthers practice today. Some new injuries popping up that I don't necessarily love. Deontay Johnson did not practice today. A little bit of I believe a groin tweak is the deal.
What?
They do expect him back tomorrow, apparently. And this might have been a smooth move by Deontay. They were out there practicing in the rain today.
Yeah, there's that.
And with the slipperiness, if you do have like a little tweak or a little tightness, you're probably like, I'd feel real dumb if I slip on a grassy practice field or a wet practice field on a Thursday. And because of that, I can't play. So I think it's probably more precaution than anything else. But with Adam Thielen already out, you definitely want to do absolutely everything you can to have Deontay Johnson out there on Sunday for Andy Dalton to be a number 1 wide receiver. Other than that, we're pretty confident Damian Lewis, the right guard, I think. Left guard, you're right, because Robert Hunt pulls from the right, goes to left. Damian Lewis, the left guard, not going to be playing this weekend due to a elbow injury. I think it's a UCL tear.
Yes.
But he's expecting to play through it eventually. I guess they just need to wait for some, time. So Chandler Zavala will be stepping up. Offensive line has been very good, but now they gotta help the young guy. Chandler Zavala, was it a 4th-round pick before last year out of NC State? Needs to, can't bring the unit down. They've been playing very, very well. And shout out to Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis and Corbett at guard for leading the way. Moten leading the way at tackle, and Icky for looking like he belongs in that group. Like you haven't noted. Last year there was a lot of come on, Icky.
Yeah.
There hasn't been as much of that, which is good.
I just realized I think this is the first time really this season that we've mentioned Icky's name outside of like, hey, you got to block, Khalil Mack coming up. I mean, outside of like an actual matchup, it's just kind of like you haven't noticed him, and that's a good thing.
Offensive linemen are one of the most. If the game is over and nobody ever said my name, that means I did my job wonderfully.
Unless I had a highlight pancake block.
Because, even those are pretty rare. If you get those and
Robert Hunt did have one last game.
He did. He absolutely did. But usually if you're saying an offensive lineman's name, it means he got beat, it means he got hurt, or it means he got a penalty. So the fact that we haven't said it, like, I don't need Ike Ekwonu to get the highlight pancake. I don't need him to be Robert Hunt running downfield, forearm shivering linebackers to the ground. You pay Robert Hunt $20 million a year to be that guy. I need Ike Ekwonu to be the guy that does his job play in and play out. The offensive line appears to have done that thus far. Again, Damian Lewis will be out. We'll see how that affects things, but it's optimistic on the offensive line. According to the 33rd Team, which is an online analytics site, the Panthers have the second lowest pressure percentage. So on the second fewest percentage or lowest percentage of plays they allow a pressure by the offensive line, which that's good. I mean, let's just if you would have told me they could be 11th
after last year,
before preseason, if you said, hey, through 3 weeks they're going to be 11th in percentage of pressures, I would have gone, you know what? I'll take it. Let me sign up for it. I accept. I'm not gonna push my luck here. Like let me lock this in. They end up being second. That's pretty darn good. The other thing that they have to deal with this week, and I mentioned a little bit, is figuring out what happens with Adam Thielen not there. I don't think it was a coincidence that Andy Dalton's first pass was intended for Adam Thielen on a quick hitting route. He's kind of a veteran that they lean on. Dave Canales spoke to the media about other guys stepping up in place of the veteran Thielen.
All the guys got to be ready to step up. Those are big shoes to fill, especially just with Thielen, the way that he works, the way that he goes about his job every day, and then for sure on Sundays, just he plays so fast and he makes the right decisions. So this is a great opportunity for Xavier, for Mingo, for David Moore, Jalen Coker, who we brought up on the 53, looking at all those guys this week, as we go through the week to see who can bring something, who can add a spark, to this pass game as we continue to develop together. All the guys got to be ready to step up. Those are big shoes.
So nice he was going to say it twice. Everybody does have to be ready. And I talked about that earlier this week. Wide receivers are not a one-for-one replacement. It's not like, all right, Adam Thielen's out. Who's going to get his 5 first-half targets? It's Adam Thielen's out. Which 4 guys are each going to get another 1.5 targets or darn it, for the guy that always does my on-air math. I know that was supposed to be 1.25, but I said it wrong. Everybody is going to, I feel like I get credit for correcting it that quickly. My point is it's more of a unit stepping up to each take a little bit of his responsibility rather than like when a running back gets hurt, whoever your backup running back is usually takes on that role. It's just our starting running back got 19 carries last week. If the game goes the same way, our backup running back will get 19 carries this week. So it is a little bit of everybody stepping up in lieu of the absent and injured Thielen, which is why you need a healthy Deontay Johnson. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Let's go ahead and get some contestants for the numbers game, shall we? We have a $25 AutoBell car wash gift card going to the winner of the numbers game. We had an excellently played numbers game yesterday. It was good strategy. It was well executed. No perfect scores, but you could tell both contestants knew what they were doing and executed their plan. If you want to step up to the plate next in the numbers game, we need 2 contestants. Call in now, 919-860-5326. That's 919-860-5326. And if you win the numbers game, you'll get a AutoBell car wash gift card. Call in now because the numbers game is next.
The Adam Gold Show.
Look, I know the contract's good. It gives the Hurricanes an additional $500,000 more per year in cap space. But the best part about this deal is that Seth's here for the next 8 years. And if all goes well, he'll be here for the following 8 years as well because he's headed to market again when he's just 30 and he should be at the height of his powers. Great deal for both sides, and we are lucky to have Jarvie in town.
The Adam Gold Show, weekdays starting at noon on 99.9 The Fan.
Connection, opportunity, possibility. It's what we all want. Spectrum has built a world where anything is possible, with products and services designed to work better together for a seamless connectivity experience. A connection to family and friends, a connection to education, and a connection to new opportunities. So there's no limit to how big we can dream. That's Life Unlimited. That's Spectrum.
Hey everybody, Paul Lyhander from 99.9 The Fan for FanDuel. This year, FanDuel is giving you a chance to win big every Thursday night with FanDuel Squares. It's the same Super Bowl Squares game you've always known, only way better. It's because your numbers aren't just randomly assigned, you pick them yourself. You can pick as many as you like, you get to see the odds beforehand, and you can bet them live during the game. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/Paul, Paul with a capital P, and bet on Squares. Plus, if you're new to FanDuel, you can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. 21 plus and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
Y'all want to hear about the AARP auto insurance program from the Hartford? Well, if you're age 50 or over, you can save hundreds when you switch. Are you ready for some exclusive discounts too? Phone's in the air now. We're going to sign you up, baby. Go to visithartfordauto.com today for your free quote.
When you're with the Hartford, the Bucks got your back. Provided by Hartford Fire Insurance Company, not AARP or its affiliates. Individual savings vary. The Hartford pays a royalty fee to AARP, which is used for external purposes. For information and restrictions, go to thehartford.com.
Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.
99.9 The Fan and Coastal Credit Union are proud to announce the return of the Coastal Credit Union Scholar Athlete of the Month. For more than 20 years, we have honored over 200 student athletes that are making a difference on their team and in their community. If you are a teacher, parent, coach, or guardian, nominate your Scholar Athlete today. We will select one winner a month to be featured on 99.9 The Fan and on WRAL News Plus. To nominate a winner, text AWARD to 919-860-5326. That's AWARD to 919-860-5326.
Congrats to last year's winners. Emma Penkunas of Holly Springs High School, Connor O'Toole of Athens Drive, Kenzie Smith of Fuquay Varina, Patience Ifadon of South Garner High, Carrie Ellen Bryan of Southern Lee, Carson Parker, Apex Friendship, Jason Howard of Wakefield High School, and Eric Stoll of Green Level. We also want to thank all of our other local schools who nominated a student: Apex Friendship, Jordan Matthews, Northwood, Green Hope High, Willow Springs, Jacksonville High, South Granville, Cleveland High, Riverside, and South Johnston.
This is Creighton Blackwell with Coastal Credit Union, and I would like to offer my sincerest thanks to every school that nominated a student for this year's award. This award is more than a celebration of exceptional athletes. It's also a celebration of the schools and the communities that helped them grow into the incredible leaders that we like to celebrate.
Congratulations to all of our Coastal Credit Union Scholar Athletes of the Month. If you want to nominate a high school athlete, text AWARD to 919-860-5326.
This is The Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan, and it is time for the numbers game, just like it is around this time every single day. Our contestants for this evening's contest, Matthew in Raleigh and Eric in Chapel Hill. The prize, a $25 Autobell Car Wash gift card. And we have to ask a question. We'll pick our favorite answer to see who goes first. We'll start with Matthew in Raleigh. Matthew, the question for today is inspired by Derrick Rose retiring. We already had this conversation locally, but I'll open it up to the entire sports world. Which athlete is the most injury what-if of all time? If you could, reverse one injury for one player, who would it be?
Ooh.
Are you thinking, or did we lose you? Matthew in Raleigh, did you just... I don't want to answer an injury question, so I'm hanging up. Is that what happened? All right, Matthew, we'll give you a few minutes to figure out your connection. We'll go to Eric in Chapel Hill. Eric, are you there?
Yep, I'm right here.
All right. The same question to you. Who is the biggest injury what if in all of sports? If you could go back and kind of reverse one injury, who would you do?
Can I give you a 1A and a 1B?
Oh, I'd love a 1A and a 1B.
Let's do Tracy McGrady and also Penny Hardaway.
Two very good ones, and if you could reverse
Great
both
answers.
of those, the Magic might have a couple titles. That's two solid ones. Go ahead and hang on the line. We'll see if we can get Matthew and Raleigh here. If not, Matthew's gone. So the way this is going to work is, should we open the lines back up, Dennis? Dennis is doing some very quick checking of contacts back there. We know that Eric has a good answer. I'm comfortable putting Eric first. I just want to make sure that we have a contestant for him to play against in the numbers
We
game?
do. We have Adam from Apex stepping in.
Adam from Apex.
He jumped on. He's like, you need another contestant? I got you.
All right. Adam and Apex, unfortunately, just because you were the late addition, you'll go second. But Eric and Chapel Hill, the original for this contestant, this competition, you get to go first. Are you ready to pick a category?
Let's do it.
All right. The categories are NFL, Yo Tony, all players whose first name is Tony. NFL vehicle guys, all players whose names have to do with cars. NBA current players only, or NHL Canes and Whalers only.
Let's do NFL car guy.
All right. All of these vehicle guys, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
All of these names have something to do with vehicles. I'll give you the team and the player. You give me the jersey number as quickly as you can. 30 seconds on the clock. One pass if you do need it. Any questions before we get started?
No, I'm good.
All right. Your time will start when you hear the horn. Donald Driver, Green Bay Packers.
8-1.
Incorrect. Derek Carr, New Orleans Saints.
4.
Correct. Van Jefferson, Los Angeles Rams.
Pass.
Jerome Ford, Cleveland Browns.
32.
Incorrect. Donald Driver, Green Bay Packers.
80.
Correct. Khalil Mack, Los Angeles Chargers.
52.
Correct. Van Jefferson, Los Angeles Rams.
11.
Incorrect. Jerome Ford, Cleveland Browns.
12.
Incorrect. Van Jefferson. You one off there. You said, by the way, you got Donald Driver correct with 80. You got Derek Carr with 4. You got Khalil Mack with 52. Van Jefferson wore 12. You guessed 12 for Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford wears number 34. But you did get 3. It's a solid number. Go ahead and sit on the line. We'll see if it holds up. Against our newest contender, Adam from Apex. Is that who we have? Adam, are you there?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Doing very well. You are jumping straight from the bullpen into the action. So are you ready to pick a category?
Oh, yeah. We always go Canes and Whalers in this household.
All right. I like it. I'll give you the team and the player. I will say the team, even though you know the team in this category, just to keep it fair with the other categories timing-wise. I'll give you the team and the player. Give me the jersey number as quickly as you can. 30 seconds on the clock. One pass if you need it. You need 4 for the win.
Maya for checkout.
Copy on 4.
All right. There's something going on there. I'm just going to breeze on by it. Any questions before we get started?
No, sir. That sounds good.
All right. Your time will start when you hear the horn.
You got it.
Jordan Martin of Carolina Hurricanes.
48.
Correct. Jalen Chatfield, Carolina Hurricanes.
13.
Incorrect. Yuri Talusti, Carolina Hurricanes.
44.
Incorrect. Jalen Chatfield, Carolina Hurricanes.
5.
Correct. James Reimer, Carolina Hurricanes.
31.
Incorrect. Yuri Talusti, Carolina Hurricanes.
Pass.
Yanni Hunkampa, Carolina Hurricanes.
66.
Incorrect. James Reimer, Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, those got me.
There were some tough ones. Huckenpaw is the way to pronounce that one, by the way. So I may have messed you up on that one, but you were more than one away. Martinook, 48, you got it. Jalen Chatfield, you got 5. We would have also accepted 64. He wore that earlier in his career. Talusti, for those of you playing at home, 19. For Reimer, 47. And for Huckenpaw, it was 58. That is the numbers you missed. Thank you for jumping, like I said, straight off the bench into the action. Unfortunately, not a win for you, but hopefully you had some fun.
Always do. Thanks.
Of course. That brings us to Eric in Chapel Hill. You are the winner. Congratulations.
Thank you.
$25 gift card to Autobell Car Wash is yours for winning the numbers game. Go ahead and sit on the line, and Dennis will make sure he has all the info to get you your prize.
No problem.
Sweet. Pretty darn good there. I like it. We had to pivot, maybe a mispronunciation or two, but solid numbers game all around based on the circumstances. I do want to say this. I guess there's some weather going up and down the East Coast. Stay safe, everybody. I don't know if it's going to hit us. I'm not a weather person. We have some great meteorologists over at WRAL that are part of the Capital Broadcasting Company, so pay attention there. But if travel, I'm seeing the Clemson Florida State game. Obviously, you'd be going into the kind of the tougher parts of it. So just be safe. I don't know why, but I feel like because we have the microphone, occasionally we should just let everybody know that we're thinking about you if you're dealing with the tough stuff. If you have any family in Florida like I do, obviously you want to check up on them. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Before we move on, Tim Donnelly here for Miller Lending, the home of the no closing cost loan. When you close on a mortgage with Miller Lending, that is just your next payment, not your forever payment. So imagine when rates were at their peak, however many months ago, maybe you were forced to lock in a high 7 interest rate on your mortgage. That means your monthly payment was probably higher than you wanted it to be, right? You had to move. You had to move for a job. You had to move for family, whatever it was. You locked in the mortgage, a little higher monthly payment than you were hoping for. Handful of months later now, rates start dropping. You want to refinance, but you just paid all the closing costs. You don't want to pay the closing costs again. If you get a no closing cost loan from Miller Lending, that's never the concern. If rates drop, refinance. Get that monthly payment lowered. If rates drop again, do it again. You're not digging into your pocket for closing costs each and every time it happens. Your payment is just your next payment, not your forever payment every month forever and ever for 30 years at Miller Lending. If rates drop, refinance with no costs. With rates as high as they are right now, you should never pay closing costs or fees, because if the rates drop in 3 or 4 months, or in 3 or 4 months after that, refinance again with no costs as many times as you need to. Give them a call if you want to check it out. 919-447-3377. That's 919-447-3377. Or you can visit them online at millerlending.com. Once again, that is millerlending.com. Miller Lending is an equal housing lender, and MLS number 250-2146. We're going to take a break. When we come back, what do the Panthers do with Bryce Young? If they don't trade him, how do they treat him? Stick around.
The new bonus edition Buck Scratch-Off's got a first-ever bonus game in the Outback.
You mean on the back, not Outback.
What's on the back?
The bonus game.
Then what's on the front?
Prizes up to $1 million.
I thought the game was called Bucks.
It is. Just forget it.
Crikey, mate. Don't go telling people to forget it. The whole point is for them to be remembering it.
The all-new bonus edition Buck Scratch-Offs from the North Carolina Education Lottery. Must be 18 to play. Approximate overall odds of winning are 1 in 3.81 to 4.75. Problem gambling helpline 877-718-5543.
Donald Trump's back, and he's out for control.
I would have every right to go after them.
Complete control.
I will wield that power very aggressively.
And he has a plan to get it.
Detailed plans for exactly what our movement will do.
It's called Project 2025, a 922-page blueprint to make Donald Trump the most powerful president ever. Overhauling the Department of Justice, giving Trump the unchecked power to seek vengeance, eliminating the Department of Education, and defunding K-12 schools, requiring the government to monitor women's pregnancies, and Trump has also proposed severe cuts to Medicare and Social Security. Those are Donald Trump's plans.
Well, revenge does take time, I will say that. And sometimes revenge can be justified.
He'll take control, we'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message. Paid for by Harris for President.
You know Diamonds Direct for their exquisite diamonds and fine jewelry. What about luxury watches? With a hand-picked collection by the industry's top timepiece experts, skip the waiting list and get the timepiece you've been eyeing right away. And this month only, enjoy 0% interest for 5 years on all the top brands. Imagine owning a $15,000 luxury watch for just $250 a month. Spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest on approved credit. Diamonds Direct, where you can shop direct for diamonds and watches.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all of that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Week 4 is here of the NFL, and you can start with a chance to win big on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And I am Adam Gold, and new to FanDuel, you get started $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you make your first $5 wager. Don't even have to win it, just have to make it. You can get yourself a single-game parlay thinking ahead to Thursday Night Football, Cowboys and Giants. Giants aren't good. Cowboys, well, we're not really sure, are we? FanDuel.com/Adam Gold to make every moment more this season with FanDuel. FanDuel.com/Adam Gold. FanDuel is an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and over and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
Train heating and cooling systems are engineered to keep up with you. We run together. Visit traininfo.com to find your local independent Train dealer and learn more. It's hard to stop a train.
This is The Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan. We do have Overdrive coming up next here on 99.9 The Fan. We'll start with a little Andy Dalton conversation from earlier today. That'll lead off Overdrive at 6, and then there's Thursday Night Football tonight, all right here on 99.9 The Fan. With all the Andy Dalton conversations happening, I think we need to have a Bryce Young conversation.
Oh, okay.
The trade conversation is one that's going to be around forever, right? How much would he bring? Would he bring back in a trade? Should they trade him? Who would want him? All those things. As long as you're not trading him, right, until the moment you pull the trigger on a trade, how do you treat him until then? Dave Canales said that they are a developmental organization. They're going to continue developing Bryce Young, and they still think he can be. He said all the right things. Chuba Hubbard, as we're about to play right here, their starting running back, said that players are still supporting Bryce Young, and that sounded a little something like this.
Bryce is obviously a great player, but also a great person off the field. Obviously it's a tough time for him, tough time for all of us, but one thing about him is, he still shows up to work with a great attitude, still the same guy. That's something I always respect about him. He doesn't change no matter what's going on, and he knows we got his back, and, we know he'll bounce back from this.
Here's what I think the first priority for Bryce Young, if I'm the Panthers, if I'm the quarterback coach, if I'm Dave Canales, if I'm the GM, if I'm Dan Morgan, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to respect his intelligence. And what I mean by that is I'm not going to try to make him think, oh, it's not you. I'm not going to walk in and go, hey, you played great. There's a lot of good. No, he's smart enough to recognize he wasn't playing very well, and the moment you took him out of the equation, the offense unleashed a little bit. Like he can connect dots.
Like it's not you, it's us.
It's yeah, exactly. And when you're breaking up with someone and you say it's not you, it's me, everybody in that whole conversation knows you're lying, right? Don't insult his intelligence that way. What I would instead do is say, we're here to help you fix it. Right? Like, we want you to play better than you were playing, and we think you can. You just weren't. And that's going to sting, and it's going to have to be like a Band-Aid rip-off conversation. You might have to give him a few days once you have that conversation, but then you get straight to fixing it, or you get straight to addressing it. And I thought this was interesting timing. And I actually have to give a shout-out to Virginia Tech Twitter, okay? I used to
words not said often.
True. I used to cover Virginia Tech, and there's still a few stragglers in my feed. Okay, so I saw somebody repost a clip from NFL Live yesterday, and it was Dan Orlovsky on NFL Live, ESPN analyst, breaking down Patrick Mahomes being hesitant on throws this year. Because if you look at Patrick Mahomes' stats and a whole bunch of important passing stats, Worst of his career through 3 games. Chiefs are 3-0, so nobody notices, but his stats are down a little bit. And Dan Orlovsky was trying to figure out why, and he found quite a few examples of Patrick Mahomes being hesitant, meaning receivers were getting ready to break out of routes, like a snap off an out route or something like that, and the defense very clearly was saying, "Hey, the ball should go to the out route." And you see Patrick Mahomes get ready to throw, eyes in the right spot, feet in the right spot, and for whatever reason, it's like a pump fake or it's a hesitation, and then he's scrambling out. Now, the beauty of Patrick Mahomes is he oftentimes scrambled for positive yards, found a completion downfield, checked it down. Like you don't notice the hesitation because he double clutches and then still makes a play. But there was hesitancy, and a lot of them were like to Travis Kelce. And you're going, I don't know, if it was Xavier Worthy, the rookie, and you were hesitant on like, I wonder if he's going to break this at the right time. I get it. Patrick Mahomes has to trust Travis Kelce. They've done it 700 billion times. So I was watching it, I thought it was interesting. And again, Virginia Tech Twitter posted this. And the caption just said, somebody should show this to Kyron Drones, who is the quarterback of Virginia Tech, just so he knows even the best can get gun shy. And I was like, that's actually not a bad little motivational tactic. I'm going to borrow that and say do the same to Bryce Young. Because if you watch Bryce Young through the first 2 games, more so even than last season, because last season wasn't pretty, but at least he was cutting it loose a decent amount. He looked very timid through games 1 and games 2. That third down where he scrambled out to his left, I feel like it's the play that everybody goes to for Bryce Young lost his confidence, where he flips his hips, he sets up, he has time, and he takes the sack, pushes him out of field goal range.
It's like a microcosm.
That is a level 10 version, but some of the Mahomes stuff I saw was like a level 6. And I'm going straight to Bryce Young and saying, yeah, you're not doing things, you're reacting in a strange way, you're hesitant for some reason, but listen, hit play. Even Patrick Mahomes gets some of that, right? Even the guy who is the king of the hill right now, the 2-time defending Super Bowl champion, the undefeated Patrick Mahomes has it happen to him, right? It's not shying away from the fact that Bryce wasn't playing well. It's showing him it's all right that you weren't playing well. It's not a death sentence. Your career isn't over. And then from an organizational standpoint, I'm looking at it and I'm looking around the league and I'm going, Will Levis is starting this week. Skylar Thompson, if he's healthy, starting this week. Gardner Minshew, Jacoby Brissett, Daniel Jones. All these guys are starting around the NFL. Bryce Young is still an asset to this team. Needs a little rehab, but he's still something that can help you. I don't think he's going to help you at quarterback. I don't think you're going to play him. I think that ship has sailed. But, hey, trade him for a second-round pick. Jonathan Brooks was a second-round pick. Right? Like you traded up from right at the beginning of the second round for Xavier Legette. There's second-round picks all over the league that are pretty good. So rehabbing him, even if you don't plan on playing him, is still something that is in the best interest of the organization. And maybe it is, you need Andy Dalton to bow, or maybe, if you're out of the playoffs or something, you give Bryce Young week 18. Give him the last game. Or maybe you have to wait till preseason next year and then hope that somebody gets hurt somewhere else and he looks good in preseason. I don't know. I'm just saying, Bryce Young, you invested too much in him. He showed too much potential as a prospect to say, we benched him. We're not going to show him any attention anymore. So show him some love. Show him some tough love, but show him some love. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Before tonight, I want to let you all know what's going on at DraftKings. Tim Donnelly here for DraftKings Sportsbook. A touchdown, a tutty, in for 6. Whatever you call it, touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We don't care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns, and DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering. If you're ready to place your first bet, try betting on something simple like picking a player to score a touchdown. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Some of the options for tonight, They look a little something like this as my computer loads. Beautiful. CeeDee Lamb, -135. I think he's going to be motivated to get in the end zone. Malik Neighbors, who I said is a beast, rookie, +110 to score a touchdown. You want a longer shot? How about something like Dak Prescott? Maybe a little QB sneak action, +330. Darius Slayton, +390. Want to go even further down? Tyrone Tracy Jr., rookie running back, gets some carries for the Giants, +600. If you're ready to do a touchdown dance of your own, give it a try. New DraftKings Sportsbook customers, by the way, bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the Sportsbook app and use code TIMD. That's code TIMD for new customers at sign-up to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 877-185-543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov. 21 plus, North Carolina only. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. Thursday Night Football will be right here on 99.9 The Fan, so you can keep it tuned right here all night if you're going to be out and about driving around. We also have Overdrive coming up next, where earlier today I compared Andy Dalton to my buddy in Nebraska that remakes cars.
Oh, okay.
If you want to see how that connection was made, you're going to have to stick around because it'll lead off Overdrive. We also have a UNC football conversation. Tomorrow's show is going to be really fun. A lot of stuff to set the table for, so be here at 3 o'clock on 99.9 The Fan for that. Until then, have a great night, everybody. Enjoy tonight. Enjoy the game. We'll see you tomorrow.
Keep pounding.